up, Overheat doesn't hit anybody. Overlord's going straight to score. Here comes Trainer, he's cleaning up the trash. Call him the Street Sweeper because 2Z Esports has just been buckled in Brazil.
Once again, your former world champs are your LAIC champions, Luminosity.
There's Luminion, and the Thornton comes out as long as it switches a Pokemon that's been in play for a turn, like this Rotom, Rare Candy, Curse Blast onto one of these bench Pokemon, and Henry Kuninari will close out game number 2 with a powerful Burning Darkness and becomes your LAIC champion. I think that could be the only risk here for Gabriel, and that's why he's going to target this Mew EX down and try and just shut every obscure option out of the door.
Yeah, we know that's not possible because the amount of the energy switches used, but absolutely, just in case, that is absolutely the right move to make. Super heads up from Gabriel.
And now the doors are shutting on Justin. What can he do in this spot? Just a Prime Catcher.
And that's it!
He extends the hand. Back-to-back champions. Gabriel Fernandez does that and repeats his title as the international champion here in Latin America.
It's just going to be the Haxorus going for a big knockout here with the Dragon Pulse.
And I've got to say, Kyle, this feels like checkmate. Prince is going to take one last look, but I think he knows the situation. Miloslav with a grin on his face. He is so close to becoming our champion. And Brent doesn't think he can do it, extends the hand, and Miloslav Posledny becomes the Latin American International Champion.
Golden Go switches in, but Ursaluna's Facade will connect on Rillaboom, and that picks up a one-hit KO. Takumi's biggest offensive threat into the remaining Pokemon of Ismail Hoagie has gone down in a double KO.
And we've got Ursaluna in Trick Room, fully ready to pick up the KO, and we have it. Ismail Hoagie is your Latin America International Champion of the Junior Division.
It is really, at this point, just as simple as clicking the Rage Powder and the Expanding Force to pick up this KO on Sneasler. Pietro Nihal Caludora Silva will be your international champion here in Latin America in the Seniors Division.
Heatwave is going to connect onto both of these Pokemon, and so our Chalinon does survive with this Assault Vest.
A fake out, but it's just Heatwave. Single target connects, and that's it.
It's just a one-hit knockout. Heavy is the crown as Marco Silva defends his LAIC title and makes history as the first 3-time international champion in the Masters Division.
I'm feeling great. I didn't expect to win the whole tournament again 2 years in a row.
It's a dream come true.
Very emotional. It was a big win for the team.
This was a really nice win because it's my first win in Senior Division.
Eu estou me sentindo muito bem, muito aliviado.
A sensação de ganhar o evento é uma sensação incrível.
For the first stop of the 2025 ICs, we went to Sao Paulo, Brazil for the Latin America International Championships. Over 550 trainers competed in the video game across the juniors, seniors, and masters division. This was the big international showcase for the Regulation H rule set. No Paradox Pokemon, no legendaries, no restricteds. Just back to the basics of the Scarlet and Violet Pokédexes. With so many possibilities, trainers needed to be prepared for all sorts of team archetypes and unique Pokemon choices, and it was going to be the most experienced trainers finding the wins. The Masters Division Top Cut was one of the most stacked fields we've ever seen. 5 international champions, 2 of which were the only 2 players to ever have 2 IC wins, 1 Players' Cup champion, and a ton of regional champions. It was almost fate for the 2 double IC champs to face each other in the finals, or for LAIC to finally be won by a Latin American player. But in the end, it was Marco Hamanta Calidura Silva versus Victor Medina in the grand finals. A classic sun versus rain, with either Marco making history as the first 3 times IC champ in Masters, or Victor finally getting a win after coming so close so many times before. Championship Sunday was Marco's day. In a decisive 2-0, Marco Silva made history as not just the first 3 times IC champ, but becoming the first to defend an IC title.
Heavy is the crown as Marco Silva makes history as the first 3-time international champion in the Masters division.
In the Seniors division, Marco's little brother Pietro Silva also won LAIC, adding another IC champion trophy to his cabinet.
Pietro Nihal Caludora Silva will be your international champion.
In the Juniors division, Ismail Hoki finally won his first IC.
We've got Ursaluna in trick room, fully ready to pick up the KO, and we have it, Ismail Hoki.
Now we look forward to the Europe International Championships in February, so make sure to follow along and catch all the action at Pokemon.com/broadcasts.
Hey trainers, I'm Freya Pierce, and I'm here to recap the 2025 Latin America International Championships for the Pokemon trading card game. LAIC 2025 was the last major tournament of the Stellar Crown format. Players knew what to expect with the likes of Raging Bolt, Regidrago, Lugia, and Terrapagos filling the tables. Brazil's Henry Cuninari faced Sergio Lopez from the US in a Charizard EX mirror match for the Junior Championships. Henry took a swift 2-0 victory, with a little help from Fulton to surprise evolve Dusknoir and Curse Blast his way to victory.
And Henry Cuninari will close out game number 2 and becomes your LAIC champion.
In the Senior Division, Gabriel Fernandez met Justin Templar in another Brazil-US face-off. A masterful display from each player earned them 1 game apiece. After a Dusknoir misplay in Game 3, Gabriel was able to recover though and take a second title for the home crowd.
And that's it! He extends the hand, back-to-back champions. Gabriel Fernandez does that and repeats his title.
In the Masters Finals, 2 titans of the game, Australia's Brent Tonneson and Miloslav Pozleny from Czechia, played the mirror match with Regidrago V-Star. In Game 1, Miloslav started strong with a very early Boss's Orders KO on Brent's Regidrago V-Star, initiating a prize race in which Miloslav led all the way into Game 2. Game 2 ended as quickly as it started, with a lone Curium start from Miloslav, allowing Brent a quick KO on his second turn, leaving one last game to decide our LAIC champion. Following their first match's example, Miloslav KO'd Brent's only Regidrago V and never missed a beat, taking 6 prizes in 3 turns to win his first ever international title.
And Brent doesn't think he can do it, extends the hand, and Miloslav Pozletny becomes the Latin American international champion.
That was it for the first international of the 2025 season. There's still plenty of events to go, prizes to be won, and invitations to be earned to the 2025 World Championships. So make sure to go to Pokemon.com/compete to find out how you can take part and aim to be the very best like no one ever was.
It's time for a quick recap of the Latin America International Championships 2025. I'm Tomahawk UK, and I was in Sao Paulo when Marto Galde took Brazil by storm against many of the best Pokemon GO players in the world. Famous for its electric atmosphere, LAIC was a showcase of some of the best talent, support, and sportsmanship that Pokemon GO has to offer. Dominating the scene were meta staples, including Clodsire, Azumarill, and Shadow for Alligator. However, LAIC was also ripe for spice, as Primeape, Jumpluff, and even Shadow Alolan Marowak found their way into trophy placements. Championship Sunday kicked off with a face-off between friends, which saw fan favourite Marto Galde take a quick victory over his teammate Richie1409. Richie dropped into the losers finals for a sensational set of 5 against local hero 12 Vitorello. In fascinating fashion, Vitorello and his Galarian Moltres recovered from a 2-game deficit to secure his place in the LAIC Grand Finals. Vitorello went on to stun the crowd as he steamrolled his way through the first 3 games against Marto Galde, resetting the bracket and leaving everything to play for. In one of the most closely fought finals the game has ever seen, Marto Galde and Vitorello took the series to a final game of 5. An immensely climactic charge attack priority event saw Azumarill and Galarian Moltres exchange heavy blows, with Marto Galde coming out victorious.
Marto Galde is your 2025 Latin America International Champion! Give it up for the Tercero del Mundo!
Off the back of his 3rd place finish at the 20
So I'm Felipe Mazo, mostly known as Baby Mazo, and I'm from Brazil itself. Oh, it's a lot of fun because finally, after 3 years competing, I get to compete in Brazil and get to know a lot of the Brazilian crowd, which is probably, as many people have seen who have come to the LAIC, the loudest by far in like every region. My first Pokemon game was Pokemon Stadium, but as main series go, my first game was Pokemon Diamond. My favorite Pokemon is Annihilate. I always liked Primeape, now he gets a third evolution and he's like this brute, ghost, angry, fighter. So awesome, I always liked fighting types. I'm one of those guys. The furthest, it's probably Japan. Like Hawaii is very far as well, but from Brazil, I guess Japan is the furthest we've gone. Looking forward to going again as well. Highest I've ever placed, like in a Brazilian tournament setting, like regionals, AS Cup, I've won 12 times. But as far as worlds go, 5th was our best placement. Someone I really look up to in the community is Inder. Actually, he's kind of retired now, but somewhat plays sometimes, doesn't always play. But feels really good to have someone that is walking this journey with me, because like it's really hard to manage being a pro player, being a streamer, being a YouTuber, and seeing someone else doing it just the way I'm doing it is also quite a motivator to keep on doing it. My favorite food to eat at an event are always the fries in the event. I'd say my favorite hobby right now is still playing other games that are still somewhat competitive.
My name is Marto Galde and I'm from Argentina. If I won the World Championship, I would call my family. They would be so proud of me. It would be unbelievable. My favorite Pokemon changes from time to time. Right now, I like Grookey a lot. It's my favorite starter, and I haven't even played the Galar game. The furthest I ever traveled to a Pokemon tournament was Worlds 2022 in London. The experience for me was mind-blowing because I got 5th in the world, and it was not something I didn't expect, and it made me so happy. In this moment, I look up to Colin Six a lot because I feel like he's one of the best players in the world, if not the best, and I feel like he's way ahead of a lot of players. So I like to stay up a little late. Sometimes when you play video games, it is like that. So when I'm competing, I like to eat healthy stuff because if not, the stomach might be a bit bad. But my favorite food is burgers. I don't recommend to eat them in a tournament though. It would probably be Grookey. It's just so fun and goofy. I love it.
Final prize cards. The world invite is secured.
Another day, another moment you can't wait, cause it's time. Time for you to win the race, so level up. Come on, take it all the way you're in. Pole position right out of the gate. Have they heard of you? Then they know. You got your sights set on that road. If it's time to battle them, then let's go. Cause you'll never stop. Show them what you got. They already know you got your sights set on making me roll. Show them what you got. Yeah, they already know you got your sights set on making me roll. Put your hands up. Put your hands up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the LAIC preview show. My name is Adam Skarzik-Watson, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Rachel Seltzer, and we are getting ready to kick off the first international championship of the 2026 season.
Oh, it's going to be a big one. I can't believe we still have a whole year of competition ahead of us, but we're heading into LAIC, and we've got 4 of our best and biggest brains in the competitive Pokemon space to help us break down all the different parts of competition. We're going to talk about the meta. We're going to talk about some players to watch. We're going to get to talk to some of those players.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we're going to have some fun today, too, Adam.
Absolutely. It's not just us two folks. We're doing things a little bit different this season, of course. We've got our panelists that will be joining us for the entire season. We're going to bring them in right now. So first up, we've got Sierra Dawn from VGC, Will Dumpy from Pokemon GO, Joe Bernard from TCG, and we've got Zoinks from UNITE. And this is your crew, everyone. We've got our 6-box ready to go. Can everyone hear me? Welcome in.
Yeah.
Hello.
We get you loud and clear. Hey, Adam. Hey, Rachel.
And I think one of the coolest things about this, Skarzik, is as we kick off the 2026 season, you are looking at all the faces who are going to be bringing you coverage all year long. So we've got lots of ways to hold our talent team accountable here. We're going to be asking them for some predictions later on, just as we move through the season to make sure everyone's doing their homework and paying attention. And of course, we've got you guys boots on the ground. In fact, 2 of you calling in from Vegas. Thanks so much for making this work. We've got more competition in Pokemon, of course, before we head to this international championship. But before I get too far into it, let's do a quick go-around, a hello. Maybe, Sierra, start us off, and you're one of our friends in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm here for the Vegas Regional happening this weekend, which is super, super exciting as well, with LAIC happening next weekend. There's been a lot of international players that have come out to Las Vegas to compete in the regional before heading straight out to Brazil, which I think is really, really exciting. Being able to talk about LAIC, I'm excited for it. Rachel, I love your outfit. I just have to say, I'm just... Switching over here is so good. It's so cute.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm always learning from the casters on how to dress across the board. Great style in the Pokemon caster community. I'm seeing some of that style on display here. Joe, you dressed up quite nice for us.
I've done my bit. I've really tried hard. Yeah, I'm having a great time. Phantasmal Flames has just dropped for the TCG, and that's also on PTCG Live as well. So I plan to have one monitor watching the stream for Vegas, and the other monitor will be firmly playing PTCG Live and coming up with all sorts of harebrained schemes. I'm not going to go into what I've tested because you don't want to know, to be honest. But I'm really getting a lot through of this new format. I'm really enjoying it already.
And that's super exciting as well, that this competition going on this weekend is so important for context going into LAIC. And of course, we've got Will from Pokemon GO, who also is going to be in Las Vegas joining us for the program. Welcome in.
Hey, thank you so much, Adam. Yeah, it's great. Like Sierra, I'm here in Las Vegas, the City of Lights. I cannot wait to see this weekend maybe some Bastiodons in North America, which has been a common recurrence throughout the regionals so far, or maybe some spice picks that toss things up, because we've had so many unique Pokemon in the Open Great League. But guys, I got to be honest with you from the beginning, LAIC is all about this brand new limited meta. For the very first time, we're going to get a limited meta at an international competition, and it's going to look wildly different than anything you've ever seen. So if you want to hear that meta breakdown, you better stick around.
I'm looking forward to that. And of course, something else I'm always looking forward to when it comes to Pokemon competition, Zoinks and the Unite scene. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, I gotta be honest, I'm a little jealous of our cast. A lot of you in Vegas. That's really exciting. That sounds like an awesome tournament, but there's not much that can sour my mood right now with LAIC around the corner. For Unite, this is our season kickoff. We haven't had some of these regional level competitions to get us started. Instead, we're diving right into the IC level of tournament play, and I'm pumped. I cannot wait.
Unite always seems to kind of lay dormant for a little bit and then just come roaring back. It's one of the most hype crowds. We know that LAIC is going to be one of the most hype venues, and everyone here today is going to help us set the stage for that competition. And I guess since Will was already kind of teasing it for us a little bit, we have some of our major storylines going into LAIC and this new limited format. Tell us a bit more about that, Will.
Absolutely. So I'll kind of start from the base and just tell you what is not allowed. And then I want everyone in chat to kind of speculate which Pokemon they think are going to be powerful in this format. So the prohibited types are both Dark and Rock. And there's also categories like Legendaries, Mythicals, Ultra Beasts, Shadow Pokemon, as well as Mega Evolutions and Primal Evolutions. Also a whitelist of prohibited species, so you cannot play Alolan Ninetales or Alolan Sandslash. You cannot play Corviknight, Galarian Corsola, Jellicent, Kingdra, Lapras, Honedge, Duobleed, or Aegislash. So tons of Pokemon you can't play. Now, here's what you can do. You can play Dragon, Flying, Ghost, Ice, and Psychic type Pokemon. So I want everyone to get active in the chat, type which Pokemon you think is going to be at the top of the meta there. But we'll do a more extensive breakdown in a little while, but we've got some pretty exciting drops for Go as well.
Oh, tell us more. Go on.
Absolutely. So we're going to be celebrating our NAIC champ, It's Axon, also our former world champion, but he brought his Araquanid to the North America Internationals, and you will get an Araquanid inspired by our champ. You're also going to get several items, including an Elite Charge TM, which is super useful in case you want a Community Day attack, or if you want to TM Aquatail onto your Gyarados for LAIC, that's also a good shout. You also get some Charge and Fast TMs, as well as some candies for Dewpider. Got to nail that pronunciation and not say Dewpider. And plus, of course, you get the incredible showcase. That's what I'm trying to say of the LAIC tournament. So tune in, everyone.
That's going to be so fun for the players that want to get into the game and really have the additional information from you, Will, about this limited format. As you were listing off the just plethora of new restrictions that are going to force players to think outside of the box, what was the driving force behind this restricted list? Was this community driven, or was it something the devs just kind of threw some darts at a board? How is this landing so far? Are people excited for it?
Honestly, Adam, that's a fantastic question. So we do work very closely with the developers of Pokemon Go, that being TPCI, to develop these metas. This is actually our first attempt at having a limited meta at a competition period, not just an international competition. And just to give you an idea, right? So we've had 8 regional championships so far in the 2026 season, and we've had 59 unique species in the Open Great League make it into the top 8. Through 11 tournaments in the same season last year, we had 55. So we've actually had more unique Pokemon in less time in the Open Great League than we did a year ago. So when we go into LAIC, what you're going to find is a much more restricted meta, a lot of mirror matches, a lot of Pokemon that you're going to see time and time again. And the nuances are super, super important in terms of how people actually address those matchups and play those Pokemon.
When you first heard these restrictions, was there a Pokemon or a strategy that really leapt out at you immediately? Do you think is going to be very strong for a limited format?
Of course. So the first Pokemon I saw was actually Gyarados. It's a flying and water-type Pokemon with access to Dragon Breath. It also has its Community Day charge attack and Aqua Tail, as well as some options with its second charge attack. You can go for Crunch, you can go for Twister, even Hydro Pump if you're feeling a little bit spicy. But what Gyarados really offers you is it's not a Dragon-type Pokemon, but it has a Dragon-type fast attack. So you're going to win those matchups versus most of the other dragons, whether it's Goodra or Dragonair or Altaria, because you are dealing that super effective damage. Gyarados is super flexible. EU brings it. We actually saw 2 Shadow Gyarados in the top cut for our last EU regional, and now it's actually a big staple of this LAIC meta, which is super exciting.
I know we're going to hear a lot more about this limited format because it's kind of a major through line as we talk about Go competition. But let's head over now to Joe and talk about what's coming up for TCG and some major storylines.
Well, for me, it's really a story of moving on into the Mega Evolution format comes with a whole set of new things, not least a new mechanic. Mega Evolutions now joined the game, 3 prize Pokemon are back in the trading card game, and they're already making a really big splash. We're seeing the Absol Kangaskhan toolbox-style deck that not many people even considered an archetype was brought to the tables by Tord Reklev and a handful of other great players. That's a name that I'm sure will stick out to you as one of the best innovators of the game as well as players, and really stunned the tables with this archetype. And since then, because we have already had 5 majors in this Mega Evolution format, basically across the globe, players have been adapting to incorporate this new strategy into the game, and it seems to have shifted this narrative that we've had, definitely throughout last season, where it was a tug of war between Gardevoir and Dragapult. They were undoubtedly the best decks. Even if they weren't winning the tournament, they were probably in the final. Now it feels like, as the Absol Kangaskhan deck has sort of shifted into that mix, it then creates a reason for the likes of Ceruledge and Golden Go to see play, and it just opens up much more space. So it feels like a real diverse metagame that we're looking at in Mega Evolution, and I've said we're coming towards the latter stages of it. It still feels really unsolved, which is so exciting to see for an international championship.
I definitely agree, because one big factor about the Mega Evolutions is these new Pokemon arriving on the scene are worth 3 out of the 6 prizes you need to win the game. So it's a huge amount of risk versus reward being added to the metagame.
Yeah, you can't frivolously put these into your deck. The timing of the cards are so essential as well, because there are going to be some board states where you're leaving, 10 plus prize cards worth of Pokemon out there. And if something is able to overcome these 3 prize Pokemon in one attack, naturally, they're going to have a big advantage in that situation. So we've seen different ways to try and combat this. For example, Mega Absol EX is already very disruptive in its approach. It can snag cards out of your opponent's hand with its Claw of Darkness attack, so pairing that with some disruption supporter cards really is something that players are jumping onto as a potential option to be covering a wide base of matchups. So that's really an archetype that I have my eye on, because it's still being innovated.
And we're going to discuss more about this later. There's so much to dig into for this tournament, and I know that TCG has some drops as well. Joe, can you tell us a bit more about those?
Well, I already alluded to it earlier, but Phantasmal Flames is here for PTCG Live. So if you're not attending, but instead watching the LAIC, perhaps you're going to be, like me, playing PTCG Live on the other monitor or on some other device. And this is a perfect time to get in, because you can get yourself a handful of extra booster packs for Phantasmal Flames. You can also get yourself some nice cosmetics in there as well to swag out your deck box and your coin and whatnot. letting people know that you're right on the pulse of the metagame. But there's so much to enjoy for Phantasmal Flames. I know we're not really touching on that too much, but it really does change the metagame as well. I'm already looking at lots of new Mega Evolution cards. There's also some great supporters like Dawn that's going to go in a whole host of decks. That's the thing that I'm really keeping an eye on in Phantasmal Flames. So you can get your fill in multiple formats in this ever-changing TCG meta.
Ever-changing in TCG, and you know what? Ever-changing in Unite as well. We've got Zoinks coming up to talk to us about what we're going to see storyline-wise with some big changes coming to Unite this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really exciting stuff going on in the game, but as a first tournament of a season always is, the biggest storylines are going to be around the kickoff. There's kind of two I want to focus in on. One is LAIC always ends up being a bit of a roster mania event. Most notably, the champions of LAIC last year were Luminosity Gaming. Those players have scattered to the winds. Two of those players have actually went international to go play over in Asia, with Overlord representing a team from Japan next year, and Slash representing a team from Taiwan, and then the three other members being Otter, Trainer, and of course, oh my goodness, why am I forgetting players' names?
But yeah, it's
now?
scattered all around. It's hard to even keep them straight, and they might even show up under a different moniker. I know in Unite, the teams are also all changing their names all the time, so kudos to you for keeping it all together for us.
Well, yeah, my apologies to Curios for forgetting their name. They're never going to let me forget that, by the way.
They just got to show up big at LAIC, and then we'll all remember.
Never forget.
Exactly. Yeah, they will still be competing just on 3 different teams at LAIC. So going to be really exciting to see which former LG member comes out on top. And then the other major storyline I wanted to talk about, of course, is the prize of this tournament. Of course, we do have cash prizing for these events, but this year, in comparison to last year, where only one Asia Champions League invite was given, we're giving to the top 3 teams at LAIC. We'll get a trip to Japan to go and play in March in the finals, the in-person finals of the Asia Champions League. It was such an amazing event last year where Luminosity Gaming got to go because of their victory at LAIC, and now 3 teams are going to have that opportunity. It's really, really exciting.
Yeah, we talked to Slash last year after he played, said it was just an enormous opportunity, just like you said. Now that there's 3 slots open, I know you're really in with the players and you get a great sense of kind of like where their heads are at going into this. Is that the new goal now? Is the cash prize aside, they're just trying to get to the Asia Regional?
Yeah, I have to admit, after seeing that event, there's just no way I can refute it. I was lucky enough to be there in person, and there's truly nothing like it. These international championship competitions are so exciting for just how many people are there to celebrate competitive Pokemon, but I got to admit, an event entirely dedicated to Pokemon Unite, well, that's going to hold a special place in my heart, and a lot of these teams feel the same way. So it is, it's an astounding event, and the chance to play against some of the best in the entire world. It truly is like a mini World Championship earlier on in the year. So very exciting for 3 of those teams to have that opportunity.
Very exciting for the viewers as well, because as they tune into LAIC, they get a chance to pick up some pretty sweet Unite drops.
Yeah, we got some cool swag to give away. Of course, there will be a code revealed on the broadcast for a sticker to showcase your really cool LAIC swag. And if you're watching just even 15 minutes of the broadcast while tuning in to the Twitch channel, you can get one of those platinum emblems, this one for Venusaur. So, really cool drops just for watching the stream and tuning in and checking out that code.
You hear that, buddy?
You get your own Unite sticker.
Emblem.
But yeah, LAIC is going to be Mega Venusaur themed, of course. So we're always looking forward to that tie-in, as you can see with the outfits, with the set. Shout out to our production crew as well for setting this up for us. And now that you've set the stage for Unite, we can move over to VGC. We've got Sierra Dawn here with us today, and she's going to break it down. How you doing, Sierra?
I am doing so good. Thank you so much for asking. I'm excited for LAIC, honestly. That's being the first international of the season. There's so many great storylines that start emerging near the beginning of the season that last year we really got to follow up until NISC, up until the World Championships, right? So looking at LAIC this year, wanted to focus on a couple of really big storylines to maybe start coming into effect sooner rather than later.
We've got some big ones, and I know you teased them a little bit in rehearsal. There's some players that really want to be celebrated. There's some players that want to come in on the down low here. But let's talk about the big names that are looking for a little bit of that shine.
I mean, talking about a couple of the storylines going into the event, there is a player who has won LAIC 2 years in a row now, none other than Marco Silva, going for a potential three-peat on this year. I mean, Marco is one of the top players in the game, and last year as well, when you are looking at the 2025 LAIC finals, it's within the same regulation, the same format that we currently have. He came out of the gate with this Sun team with a Charizard and just dominated the competition. Winning LAIC 2024-2025 was just phenomenal, and as well having a 2020 OCIC victory. That makes him a three-time international champion, the first one we've had here in the Masters division for VGC, and honestly, in great form to maybe even get the fourth. I mean, you always kind of want to speculate, right? Ooh, could they get the back-to-back? But he's also coming off of a regional win just in Lille a few weeks ago. So someone that is still just top of the format. The fact it's a repeating format is incredible, and Marco is one of the best players in the game. So there is this possibility.
And just to refresh my memory, for Marco Silva's team that he won in Lille, was it the same Sun team, or is he still bouncing around and keeping his opponents on his toes?
It wasn't incredibly enough. So the team is still incredibly strong. We got to see in top 8, a friend of his, Federico Camporesi, got top 8 with that Sun team that Marco won LAIC with. But Marco then was playing Rabombi and Como-O, which is also not really something we see within this current format of Pokemon. So yeah, it's incredible, right? So that's something I'll dive into a little bit later. Yeah. But the fact that it's with different teams, it's not just here's this one team that I'm only piloting, but just the high level of success he's had across the board with different teams is just incredible and just really shows his strength as a trainer.
And since you set that up beautifully from when we return to it later in the broadcast, let's just end this little brief segment with the VGC drops. What are our viewers have in store for us, Sierra?
I mean, if I can go on a little bit of a tangent here, just about great stuff in this game. Whimsicott is such a strong Pokemon. So looking at this was from Federico Camporesi, who I just mentioned, getting top 8 with Marco's team, funny enough. And it is a Pokemon that you can pick up. It is just good across formats. It has so many different utility tools, being able to go for something like Tailwind, the Sunny Day, shut things down. We got to see Fake Tears. We got to see so many different utilities, and even if it's not the flashiest Pokemon, having a strong support Pokemon like that is good. So yeah, make sure you get it. This is a good Pokemon, guys. Good Pokemon.
You heard Sierra. We want to see you there. We want to see you in chat. We want to see you picking up all of these drops, of course, across all of our games. And I want to say thank you. All of you have laid out the storylines that we have to keep an eye on heading on into LAIC. But now let's go a little bit closer on that magnification and take a look at some players and teams to watch as we head into the competition. Because maybe you're coming in, maybe you don't have a favorite yet. Maybe you're looking for a little hook, who to cheer for, or just to get the temperature of how the games are going. So when we take a look at Unite, Zoinks, what teams are we going to really want to keep an eye on here?
Yes, this is always my favorite segment that we get to dive into because I get to present 15 or so players to watch, which is a really fun point that our game allows. But in terms of teams, let me kind of pitch them in a few different ways. First, let's pitch some of the local heroes. I would say right now there's probably a big 4 when it comes to Brazil teams. There's a lot of really good rosters, some that made a splash at the World Championships, and those rosters have kind of shifted up. The one I'm going to focus in on, though, is going to be Force Team. Force Team, a really, really exceptional squad, has kind of the trio that has been maybe the most consistent for Brazil in the last few years of Salto, Lel, and Fulb. They are just 3 incredible players. That's saying a lot, though, because of how many incredible talents we have in that region, but they're going to be my team to watch from the local squads. Another one that we have to put up there as a team to watch, of course, is going to be TTV. This is a household name if you have been following Pokemon Unite for a few years now, and actually dating before the Unite Championship Series even began. This is one of the most dominant teams of all time, and 3 of those members have rejoined and are forming up the squad again, and this is going to be a really good team. A NA favorite for sure to keep your eyes out on. We're even taking one of EU's best players in Toon to represent that team. So, an exciting one, and then the third and final one is going to be, of course, course, our world champion title holders currently in Peru Unite. They are, of course, representing the team that's in their name. Most of them all hailing from that same country. This team was incredible at the World Championships. Truly one of the best bracket runs at a Worlds we've ever seen. Really stunned on that championship Sunday in Anaheim. And I think they're excited to, prove it that they still have it at LAIC. Last year, this was their lowest performing tournament out of any of the international championships. It was 5th, by the way. It's a pretty high floor for this team, but it was maybe the lowest performing. So they're looking for a bit of a better start in this tournament, I'm sure. But World Championship wind in your sails is a pretty good way to kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, confidence is just such a big part of team games like this, especially. We hear it all the time, communication, quality of practice, but I think just also going in with that confidence and just not being rattled by such a big venue and such a large competition, especially with a trip to the Japan League on the line. These players just got to stay locked in.
Yeah, it's a whole lot to play for, and obviously they've achieved one of the highest achievements you can possibly get, but I know everybody was kind of staring at LG last year with those triple international championship wins and wants a little bit of that fame as well, I think. So I know Peru's going to be coming for that title as well.
And as I'm looking at these 3 teams here, I'm trying to decide which one to pick. Do I want to go for the heroes that have kind of come back and rejoined the scene? Do I want to go for the current champions? Could you contrast, maybe compare the kind of play styles on these 3 teams? Is there a huge difference here?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that we bring these 3 teams up. I would say if there's any 2 teams that are actually extremely similar, it might be this TTV roster and Peru. They do play pretty similar game patterns. They have this aggressive mode they can flex into, but honestly, one of the things I think they're really credited for is how to play well defensively. Their support and defender players are just so ironclad mental that it can be really tough to shut these players down, and that just allows their damage dealers to be so extremely consistent. On the other side, I think Force team might be the team you're looking for if you're looking for a bit more of that aggressive play style. If you want that playmaking style team, something if you got a chance to watch the World Championships, something that maybe Zeta Division would employ, that hyper-aggressive strategy where your defender players are kind of abandoning that tank and lockdown style of play for the fight initiation style of play. 2 different schools of thought, but both have found a lot of success.
Well, you nailed it. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So it's going to be Force for me. Let's see how they do, of course, in this huge stack of talent heading on into the competition next weekend. But we've got a lot of talent across all of these games, Adam.
I know that next up, however, we do have Will. He's been kind of nodding along with these looks this whole time.
Perfect.
Talking about the teams, figuring out, what he's going to be rooting for Pokemon Unite. Which team jumped out at you, Will?
Oh, I got to go with Peru. I just think that the atmosphere was so electric at the World Championships, and just hearing everyone get behind Peru Unite for that Grand Finals was so extremely hype. And I feel like that kind of story, right? It's one thing to win with a team that's kind of assembled from all the best players you can think of. It's another thing to win with a team that are your countrymen, right? People that you grew up around, or maybe you're in similar cities or similar locations. That's got to feel super, super special. So yeah, I was nodding. I'm a little jealous that Zoinks gets to highlight so many insanely talented players. But man, Peru Unite all the way.
All right, well, I mean, you're going to highlight some great players for us as well anyway, so why don't you take the floor here, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't highlight 3 teams, but I can highlight 3 regions. And let's start with NA and Out of Pocket. So basically, when you talk about NA, PvP, and Pokemon GO, Out of Pocket is constantly in the conversation. This is a clip from him at Worlds in 2024. I believe he was our highest finishing North American trainer at that event. Didn't have as strong of a showing at Worlds this past year, but he did win a regional championship last season. And guys, he's played, of his last 10 events, he's finished in the top 10 7 times and won 2 of those events. So this is an absolutely elite trainer, and I will say that nobody scrims harder than Pocket. One of my favorite things is to go into some of the scrim channels. Sometimes you can emoji react to what people say, and he asks for scrims so often that his buddies are reacting with a job application emoji. They're like, come on, man, you gotta stop scrimming. But there is a method behind the madness, and Out of Pocket has gone up against some of the best trainers in the world. He never shies away from it. In 2024, when he won NAIC, that was a breakthrough moment for him because he had been in the conversation as a regional champion, constantly top cutting. But winning in IC, it was like he hit a new level and gained a lot of confidence in himself. So I'm really excited to see what he does at LAIC this season. You can see him there on the world stage, being felled by Marto Galde, who we will talk with later on in the show. But I mean, he's right up there with the best of them.
And I know that you bring up the importance of playing tons of games and scrimming, and I think that this is a point that really appeals to all of our different games that are going to be showcased at LAIC, the importance of playing with other top players and kind of getting a temperature on the metagame. Anybody have any thoughts of any stories real quick that you heard of scrimming, or do you think it's important to just focus on your own training, or do you think that it is important to scrim other top players? Joe, why did you, let me just call out Joe specifically, because I know that he has an opinion on this.
I mean, I love the dedication from Out of Pocket there. Just seeing that they want to play non-stop is just a symptom of every game. You can pick players out for every game that we all are pillars of. And like just seeing someone that dedicated to the game and inevitably getting the results is a story that I love to see, because it really is about dedication for so many of our top players. And that's the work that you don't always see. You see them at the top level, you see them performing under pressure, but also it's the stuff that you don't see, the hours of work they're putting in behind the scenes is what's really getting them elevated to these statuses.
Very well said. Appreciate that point, Joe. And just to throw it right back over to Will, of course, you've got a couple more players to highlight.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go across the Atlantic. Let's go to EU. I want to talk about Patovan, another incredible trainer. A lot of trainers in the community call him the Spanish prodigy, right? This is a clip of him at EUIC. This is a trainer who wears his emotions on his sleeve. This is a decisive game number 4 here against Z's Wireless. He reset the bracket. He's been grinding through this entire tournament. Everyone thought that he would not win in the end, and he's able to do it. You see hands on the face, full emotion. What we're probably not going to see in this clip is that after this win, he shakes hands with his opponent and then goes out into the crowd, and he's literally crowd surfing. People are picking him up, throwing him up and down, and just absolutely celebrating with him. You see his parents there as well. It's such a fascinating thing to watch his journey, because the last time he was in the grand finals, or excuse me, the first time he was in the grand finals, he actually lost to the trainer on stage across from him. And you could see him go to his parents. He was really upset. He was really let down. And then for the story to kind of come full circle back to this win at EUIC was absolutely phenomenal. So Patovan not only dominated EUIC, he went on to the World Championships, where he finished second overall and actually pushed our world champion Abizo Boy from India to his absolute limit. So Patovan, Spanish prodigy, one of the most talented trainers out there, regardless of region, and everybody should be shaking in their boots because he's coming to Sao Paulo.
Well, and I feel like when we talk about Pokemon Go, we talk about bracket resets a lot. And to me, that means, you know, you have these teams that are evenly matched. They're playing against each other throughout the course of the tournament. But when they meet up against each other in these high-stakes matches, there's some extra element that can really push one player to kind of overcome, you know, some meta setbacks, some team setbacks here. Watching Patovan overcome in these kinds of situations, are you seeing like a fire light up in his eyes when this is, you know, something he's doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think all the other casters here can probably relate to this, but I feel like the big question, especially when you're heading into Championship Sunday, the big question for these top players is how much sleep are they getting Saturday night? Because a lot of these players are scrimming all night, running as many matchups as they can. Maybe they're up until 1 or 2 or 3 a.m. just trying to nail down these matchups and get exactly the play style that they want. And just so much goes down to prediction and knowing your opponent, what they're likely to do. And your opponent's doing the same thing. So you kind of come into this like perfectly prepared scenario. And sometimes when you're that prepared, like Pato was at EUIC, the execution just takes care of itself.
So yeah, these players can really kind of narrow their focus when they know they're in the top part of the bracket, just who they're going up against, and the games just get better and better. We love to see it.
And sometimes players just play better when their back's against the wall. It's that X factor that a lot of top competitors have. And maybe our third player you have for us, Will, might bring us a little bit of that to LAIC.
What kind is he?
Perfectly said. So I want to talk about Zardy from LATAM. He's in Brazil, but the thing is that when you think of Brazilian trainers, you think of the LNDS handle, which essentially stands for the GB Lindos, or Beautiful Battlers. And Zardy is not part of that group, but he's a very talented trainer from the same region. He won my heart early on in the, I think 2022 or 2023 season when he won a tournament with Shadow Dragonair. Dragonair is one of my favorite Pokemon. It always has been. And when he did that, I said, okay, maybe this trainer is something special. So Zardy was
see this plushie
explosive. Yeah, exactly. Zardy was explosive in the early seasons, but then, real life always comes into play, and he had some things to take care of outside of Pokemon Go. The reason I'm so excited for Zardy is because he actually just won in Belo Horizonte with a double fairy team of Azumarill and Tinkaton, and he won it in stunning fashion against one of the best trainers in all of LATAM. I think Zardy's back, everybody. And if anyone is on the lookout for the LNDS, you have to keep the rest of Brazil in mind because it's an incredibly, incredibly talented region.
Well, that's what we come to you experts for. We're going to keep an eye out for Zardy. And as we're heading on over now to Joe with TCG, why don't you give us some great players to keep an eye out for?
Well, it feels like so far my colleagues have been able to pick players, but these two stand out. There was no choice here. There was no decision for me for TCG. The players that I've selected have simply had such absurd results that you can't deny them. So the first player I want to highlight is Gabriel Fernandez. This young lad is exceptional. The Grand Slam of International Championships last season is something we've never seen done and possibly may never happen again. So he's technically defending a LAIC trophy, but in a lower age division, and then was able to get second place at the World Championships as well. Everyone sort of had that weight of expectation for him to actually get all of the international championship victories and then also finish out that world's crown.
Yeah, no pressure.
A world champion. I know. Think of that weight of pressure in the arena as well. And to be fair, didn't have the right slices of luck in that final, was very close, and can really look back and be proud of how he played that final, even though he didn't get the result he was looking for. It was a pretty tough matchup. But this boy is just exceptional at making great deck choices, has come to international championships with different lists every time in different formats. And at the moment, he's laying his stake in N Zoroark, the archetype he got that second place finish with at the World Championships. And aging up into Masters is a cinch for him. Already getting a second place finish in Brazil and then getting a top 8 finish as well, traveling across the world playing Pokemon. What a dream it is for him to be able to do this, and is really rocking and innovating the N Zoroark archetype, which is a really underplayed archetype in the game right now, but only a select few players have been able to really pilot it to great accomplishment, the likes of Piper Lapine and Cal Connor, these players, great names in the game. That's really what it takes to achieve with N Zoroark, and why Gabriel is now gravitating towards that deck. So really impressive stuff from this player, and already getting a second place in the Master Division is phenomenal. And that he's hungry for the firsts. Can he now do the International Grand Slam as a master? It's something that's absurd to think of, but that's the weight of expectation we have for this boy.
I know. And he's in the same age division now as his older brother, and so that's a whole other foil that's going into the situation. And now he's going up against some insane players as well. I know you've got one more pick for us, Joe.
Yeah, the other player, again, just already a season to be proud of, but has only attended 3 tournaments, and that's Aban Ahmed, who has got a first place, second place, and second place already in the 3 regional championships he's attended. So already has his world's invite secured. Also had to overcome Henry Chow, the sort of great mind behind Gardevoir, in a mirror match. So has really taken the mantle from Henry Chow and laid a stake in the ground as the new most dominant Gardevoir player in the game. And again, has innovated the deck list, even with small tweaks between weeks, to really make sure that he's on top of his metagaming. So it's not just a one-trick pony here. It's different builds of Gardevoir that he's having great success with. And it's just unfortunate the decks he had to come up against in those finals, 2 very poor matchups for Gardevoir. That's inevitable because Gardevoir is such a popular pick right now that people will try and counter you. But Aban getting those 3 finals back-to-back is insane. His run is continuing into Las Vegas, and who knows, maybe into LAIC as well. You have to say that he's one to watch because he's only lost about 3 games all year.
Oh my goodness.
And Gardevoir is the archetype that everybody thinks the meta's bad for it, and it comes and wins anyway. Its original sort of resurgence was at the hands of Henry Chow when everybody thought the deck was not really that good. Showed up, won with it, brand new build, and now Aban carrying that mantle. We'll see if he can perform. But to move on very quickly, because we set aside a big chunk of time for Sierra Dawn. Not to cut you short, Joe, but I know she asked very nicely, folks, and so we wanted to give her some extra time to shout out a lot of players here for VGC. It's a big competition and a lot of names to go through. Jump right in, please.
Yeah, I did my normal shenanigans of, please just let me highlight one more player.
She said the magic words.
I was like, okay, but then can I highlight like another extra player? I just kept asking. So I got 5 players to highlight here. Thank goodness. But very first one, I mean, absolutely no surprise. We talked about him at top of day, but Marco Silva. I mean, I feel like I said everything there, but the top player to be watching going into the tournament. Again, I cannot stress enough that there is players that you see pop off at a tournament, and of course there's always going to be the question of will they be able to continue that success at such a high level going on forward. And there's not there's not everyone that you can really realistically say that for, not because the skill isn't there, but because the skill across the board is so strong. There's so many trainers to contend up against that it's really difficult in this day and age to be winning back-to-back tournaments, defend titles and stuff like that. So the fact that Marco is one of those players that realistically really has this opportunity is key. And again, with this returning metagame, the factor in Regulation H, the same metagame he won LAIC in last year, has gotten second at a regional in last year, and has won a regional just a few weeks ago in. It is a format he is just so incredibly comfortable with. Whether he's going to be sticking with the Rabambi combo team, whether he pivots back to Sun because it is still viable, or switches it up is something remains to be seen. But again, one of those players that we've seen him play so many different archetypes, so many different styles, and has always been able to make these tournament runs. So no matter what he manages to land on, even if it's not breaking the format, it's just in the hands of such a capable player that, yeah, he'll be able to win. Like, this is, I think, if anyone's just needs a strong prediction option, Marco's right there.
And all of the other players that you want us to watch and predicted for have to take him down. But who's going to be next up on that list?
Next up, of course, we have to talk about one of the top Latin players and talk about Juan Salerno. As well, we're talking about, Italy going and stealing a Latin title in LAIC last year. Juan Salerno made the trip out to Gdansk to try and then take a regional title from Europe themselves and getting top 4 at the event. That is a long ways to be traveling, and with a really just strong core of Pokemon is really, really impressive. As well, we got to see a regional win last year within a different format and top 4, some really unique picks within the Regulation H format. So Juan Salerno is just one of those players, if you're talking about the strengths of LATAM, even the other trainers recognize it, call him out as one of the favorites to be winning the event. And yeah, I think if there's somebody that's going to bring this title home for LATAM, this LAIC crown, I think Juan's a great pick.
Makes total sense to me.
And we talk about the audience factor, especially in the other games, a little bit more like decision making in the moment. VGC, is that going to be a big effect here? Is that going to be a little bit in Juan Salerno's favor, perhaps?
Just across the board with this format, there is a lot of different teams that have a lot of different 50-50 elements. This VGC is VGC is already such a big mind game because it's not just the chessboard that's ahead of you with the pieces, but you have to outplay the player, and each is playing with such a unique style and so many different Pokemon that lend themselves to that kind of 50-50 within this current metagame is really, really dangerous. So those individuals that can kind of maybe make those calls are going to be fared a little bit better. But again, it's one of those things just is so difficult to be doing in this moment. So, I mean, Juan has shown that he's more than capable of it. I mean, just top 4 just a couple weeks ago was proof in the pudding, but it's a tough format out there, guys.
Well, an audience, you got your work cut out for you then if you want a 7th Monet for Juan.
Next up on the list, though, because I still have so many players to talk about, one of the storylines going into LASC and just any international is some of these international players coming out from overseas, specifically within a different circuit. So looking at Japan specifically, we're talking about Yuma Kinogawa, someone who, if we're looking at championship points, cannot earn them within our circuit. He needs to get top 4 or better to get a direct invitation to the World Championships, or that's just it. Came to LASC to have some fun and play some Pokemon, and that's it. And someone who is more than capable of making those deep runs. We got to see him pop off at NAIC last year, but falling just a little short in the end, instead getting top 8, so missing out on the direct invitation. But then Japan Nationals happened right after. Not only did he earn the invitation there, but he won the Japan National Championship. So, I mean,
the level of confidence is actually ridiculous.
Crazy.
It's a hard one to win.
I have to be confident to take this 50-50. I have to be confident to travel to the other side of the globe and make top 4 against the best players in the world. I guess if we have a chance to ever speak with Yuma, he'll just say, I'm him.
Yeah, and it's a real possibility for these players as well, because NAIC, even if Yuma just missed out, Kazuki Kobayashi did get top 4. Another player from Japan got that direct invite. And EUIC, the IC before, Yosuke Takeyanagi, also got that top 4 for the direct invitation. So the player base in Japan is just at such a high level.
This is just a normal strat for them now.
No, it is. It's so viable. So that'll be really exciting. He's one of 4 Japanese players that are going to be attending and playing at LAIC. And I think that's going to be really exciting to see because the stakes are just so much different for them than everyone else.
Yeah, we'll see how those stakes impact their play. Can't wait to see how that all plays out. And Sarah, you have 2 more players. Let's go. Next one.
I know. Sorry.
I need more.
Don't apologize. These are all good. I'm meeting them.
You're right, I'm not going to apologize, because next up on the list, we have none other than our world champion. The first appearance since he just won the world championships in Anaheim. Talk about Giovanni Sliski, because, I mean, this is a player that, even if he wasn't necessarily the most broadcasted, was definitely on radars for just that level of skill he brought to the game. He has been on an incredible run, specifically near the tail end of that 2025 season. Top 8 at multiple regionals, Portland, Vancouver, getting top 32 at NAIC. And even if it wasn't a name that people at home might have been familiar with, anyone within the scene knew that he was a very capable player. Going up against, fellow USA James Evans in the finals, this was such an incredible 3-game set and very deserving title won here by Gio. And going into LAIC, this is going to be his first appearance back after that World Championship win. It is within a format that is very different from the World Championships. We had 2 restricted Pokemon there. Now he's allowed none. But I would be remiss to not call it the World Champion, because we got to see what he's up to, right?
Yeah, we love to see Giovanni winning.
We always hope for the world champions to come out and just keep that momentum going strong. It just makes the underdogs winning so much sweeter. But you've got one more for us, Sierra.
Yes, so I was allowed a 5th person on my list, and I really wanted to make sure Aladdin got a lot of love here, because even if they haven't managed to claim that LAIC title for themselves within the VGC Masters division, they've definitely had some incredible runs. And Renzo Navarro is another individual that is more than capable of that run. Coming from Peru at LAIC last year, he got top 4, so just a couple of matches away from trying to be able to claim that title for himself, and just coming off of a regional win within Belo Horizonte as well. Again, within this same format, within the same regulation. So a player too, he has gotten a plethora of titles throughout his tenure as a VGC player, even dating back to like Players Cups, multiple regionals before COVID. So a player that he's had a great level of success at an international level. And again, when you're looking at favorites to try and bring the title home for LATAM, I mean, Renzo's consistency is just really impressive.
And we got, you took some time to talk to Renzo. Actually, anything you want to key us up for to pay attention to before we head on into your interview with him?
Yeah, I mean, again, the strength of LATAM, even if they haven't been able to take that LASE title for themselves, is incredibly strong. And that's something I got the opportunity to talk to him about, to hear his thoughts about going into the event, as well as who else to kind of keep an eye on going into the weekend.
Oh, let's check out what he had to say.
I am here with Renzo Navarro, one of the VG players that's going to be playing and competing at LAIC. Renzo, thank you so much for joining us. First off, introduce yourself to those who are watching that might not be familiar with you.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. Well, my name is, as Sierra said, Renzo Navarro. I'm a VGC player from Peru, and I have been playing, I think, since 2015, 10 years now, for a while.
That is a long time. Also super accomplished player. You just won Belo Horizonte, so regional champion this season. So how's that as well?
Yeah, it's been pretty nice. I have some accomplishments. This one, is my 4th regional, and yeah, it just feels great. I'm just so excited to play in LAIC.
Let's talk about LAIC and talk about how you feel going into it, because of course with this regulation we've had a lot of progress in this regulation, and of course the first international of the season. So how you feel with the competition? You said excited, are you also nervous? How you think the rest is going to be panning out?
Yeah, I'm nervous, but I feel more excited. I think like this time it's gonna be a bit harder than the last year's LAIC, which it's the same format. So many people think like the format is already established and solved, but the format is very different, like from the last. Not very different, but a bit different from last year. Last year I did kind of good, so hoping to have the same kind of result or better.
Fingers crossed for you. Fingers crossed. But it is really interesting with LAIC, the fact that we are playing this old format, but you're saying too, like, it's not really quite the same. So I'd love to elaborate a little bit more on those for those who might not be familiar with the format and LAIC last time. Like, why isn't it going to be the same LAIC with the progress we made in the meta?
Yeah, so mainly we have had this meta like I think 2 months now, and it has from September I think, and it has been evolving like a bit. And yeah, there are some teams like you saw like last year, but there are some new teams that have been showing up. And even these last weeks, like the meta has still been evolving. And even if like they are like similar teams or whatever, like people have been adapting, and making small changes or finding new niche mons and like Weevil, Ribombi, and others, and like there are like very standard cores, but I think like people are gonna show up with some surprises maybe.
Yeah, I've loved the surprises that we've gotten recently. It's always something with this regulation, right? And then with the fact that there can be these surprises and everything else, and the fact that we've been playing this Regulation H for the second time since September, how are then you approaching LAIC? Because it's always the conversation whether players want to go for something that's a little bit more comfortable, something that is kind of proven, or if they're still trying to break the mold and have something new and interesting at this point in the meta game.
Well, I always like try to go for comfort. That's why at first I started like trying like my last year's team because I really felt like comfortable with it. But it's not working as good as last year because the meta has changed, and I have been trying like to build something new, like something that beats the meta, but it's not that easy. So, but I also feel comfortable like with the standard or Valiancy teams. So that's my approach. Like I wanna play on a strong team, but also like feel comfortable with it.
Now that makes a lot of sense, especially the first international of the season. I want to talk about the player base a little bit, because for the first international, of course, you have people from around the world. But I specifically want to talk about the players in LATAM, because we've, of course, know that there's some great talent there. And I want to know then, in your opinion, some of the names and players to kind of keep an eye on going into LAIC weekend.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, like every LATAM, like all the strong players in LATAM are going to play. And maybe we can expect like big names, like international names, worldwide names like Gabriel Agati, also like Juan Salerno, who has been he went to Europe like this last 2 weeks, and he played 2 majors. He actually got top 4 in the last one in Poland, I think. And those are 2 big names. Also, I would expect my friend Sebastián Escalante to do well. And yeah, I think also world champ Paul Reese is playing. Those are the names that come to my mind right now.
Names that if someone's watching this and you're not familiar with, you really need to be familiar with at this point, because there's staples within Pokemon VGC. Going into the weekend yourself, you've gotten the chance to play up against some great names and everything else. I want to know then if there's someone that you're particularly excited to maybe try and face, whether that is a player from LATAM or from internationally, since not everyone, you don't get the chance to compete against all these international players throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's right. From LATAM, like I would of course you want to play like very strong players, but at the same time you don't want to. But from LATAM, I would like to play Agati. I haven't played him like in a while, even though we have like went to the same regionals. And from outside, I really want a rematch versus Marco. Marco Silva. Yeah. It's gonna be like... I just want my rematch, even if I lose.
Hopefully a rematch with him, but like going into the finals, because he has been on a tear at LAIC, so no one needs to stop him. I mean, now going into this weekend, I mean, there's all these great names, right? I want to put you on the spot though, Renzo, okay? If you had to name a player other than yourself to win LAIC, who do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, I didn't want to put myself, but I could say Agati, because I think like it's very reasonable. Like many people expect a lot of him, but I want to name a personal friend who has been like improving a lot and is getting like better and better, and everyone is getting to know him, which is my friend Sebastian Rodriguez, Commander. I could make a bit of a bet on him.
Okay, couple eyes. He's been traveling as well. I love that we're getting to see other players, because it was Milwaukee that he came out to.
Yeah, he's been playing a lot.
It's been. Now, I want to talk about you before we wrap this interview up, because, of course, we have all these titles. You've won a regional already for this season. So does that change anything for you going into LAIC or this year, considering you already have the World's Invitation on the line? That's not a stress that you have to worry about anymore.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I thought. But before like winning this regional, my first goal was to win the travel award for UIC. Like I already like booked some regionals like before even like winning this regional. So I'm gonna try that. I'm still hoping to play one more major and then an LAIC. And then I just like playing, so I'm gonna take it a bit more calm, maybe. But I would like to win the World's Travel Award. Like I have been winning that like many years, like in a row. So I'm gonna play it a bit slower, but I'm gonna try to win it anyway. I just like playing and seeing friends, you know.
No, it's awesome to hear, too, because, I mean, enjoying the game is one of the best things about it, right? Yeah. Like, it's nice to win, but you want to enjoy when you're winning as well. Last but not least, like, is there anything else for LASC you're looking forward to over the weekend? Friends, plans, anything else? Because being able to travel, like, that's always fun.
Yeah, of course. I always like traveling to the most events I can. And well, in Brazil, like it's the LAIC where I get to see more friends, because they're mostly people from Latam. So yeah, I'm gonna try to enjoy it and having a good time with them. But hopefully, I will see some other friends from other regions which are coming. Like there are many big names from outside too, and many friends from outside, which I'm hoping to see. So, yep, I'm just gonna try to have fun.
And I lied. That's not the last but least. One more question, because this is a Pokemon show, and everyone always has to know. Renzo, most important question. What is your favorite Pokemon of all time and why?
Ooh. Like, it has always been Arcanine.
Okay.
But, like, I have been liking Excalibur very, like, lately. So maybe it's like Arcanine #1, and Bax, it's about to get #1 maybe.
Ooh, about to overtake. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Both really good answers. Renzo, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the great answers. And thank you for chatting. Best of luck at LASC. We'll be rooting for you, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
What a great interview with Renzo. Sarah, thank you so much for that, for taking the time to talk to him. A lot of interesting thoughts that he shared with us. And part of it, he touched on a little bit, but the meta for this upcoming event. I want to turn it back over to you, and having talked to so many of the players that are going to be throwing down next weekend in Sao Paulo, what is going on with the meta?
Me?
Again?
You again.
I mean, it's the perfect transition. You and the
5 players in a row.
The winning teams, right, in the current VG format.
This is just a VGC show now. Let's I'm all for it. I am all for it. I mean, at this point in the metagame, of course, it's the best game. We love all the games. But again, with the fact that it's the same regulation we had last year, we've just had so many different results that I've seen. And it's really interesting because a lot of the thought with Regulation H, with no restricted Pokemon, those are like the big bad Pokemon, like the cover art Pokemon. Those are not allowed in this current format. So it's generally a lower power level, which allows Pokemon that are not necessarily as strong when there's, a Koraidon and Miraidon running around, it allows them to shine, right? But there's also some really threatening Pokemon and really threatening cores within this format that have made it a little bit difficult for those teams to be shining. Just starting off Regulation H 2.0, we had Emmanuel Briganti win with this Lele balance team, and it's just this take on Sneasler with now Acrobatics and Grassy Seed combined with some really, really strong meta Pokemon. You have Rillaboom and Incineroar, Golden Go, Alolan Ninetales, and Blood Moon Ursaluna. And this team just from the get-go was so incredibly strong that it's been a little bit difficult for a couple of other teams to really find their way to make through into this format. A couple of those more interesting picks you would like to see. So the same day that he won that event, Stephon Mott won to Monterey with a Garganackle and Sylveon and some Scyther, guys, which was really, really cool. Happened at the same time. Then the meta started shifting. You needed to be able to beat this balance team that Emmanuel brought to that event. And then this pick of Scyther, etc., struggled into a couple of these other Pokemon within the format. So it didn't really take off. So we're at this really weird point in the meta now where we're seeing a lot of this balance team at the top. You get to see a Milwaukee where it's this team, both of the teams in the finals. It's a mirror finals with this balanced team that started the format. But then you also still have players like Marco Silva, who's breaking through the format with things like Rabombi and Como-O and showing that there is still innovation to be had. It's just difficult to kind of break through. So that's going to be one of the biggest things looking out for in the meta going into not just LAIC, but Las Vegas as well, is which players were actually able to beat the meta a little bit. Everything is at a really decent power level, so there's always going to be some matches that aren't so great for you. So it's been really interesting. We've seen some fun teams kind of try and break through, but whether we can see something new and not just the standard balance kind of breakthrough for LAIC is going to be my big question. That is probably the perfect way to surmise that metagame. Starting from square one, this just incredibly strong, big numbers team, and are we going to try to counter it or just try to play it better than anyone else? And that is certainly a question that TCG often has to ask itself. Do I want to counter the best decks in the game, or do I want to try to invent something new? Joe, what do you think is going to be the best way to approach LAIC?
Well, it feels like countering is becoming more difficult, actually, because we're seeing so many archetypes out there, a more diverse field in Mega Evolution, where almost every deck you can think of is going to be around that, 10 to 12% of play rate, even the most popular stuff. So it's actually very tough to come with counter strategies. Really, it's going to be getting cute with tech cards that I think is going to be the biggest deal here and what will end up telling for our players. But the way I see the breakdown right now, there's not even a top 10. I have 11 decks here that I've got into sort of 4 buckets of archetypes that I think are going to be performing well at the LAIC. So the first bucket I have decks that I think get really creative and careful with damage counter placement. So naturally, Gardevoir and Dragapult Dusknoir, they're still 2 top tier contenders, and they are so flexible with their damage. They can play around with Monkey Dory, we have Curse Blast, we have Phantom Dive. We know that these archetypes are very good standalone picks and have also gained from Mega Evolution. But then I'll also throw Grimmsnarl into that equation as well. Gaining that Lily's Determination is such a big upgrade for an archetype that plays no engine. Just getting such a core upgrade to the best supporter you can now be playing in quite a defensive deck. I think Grimmsnarl really does gain a lot. All the Stage 2 decks really enjoy Lily, and in fact other archetypes too do as well, but Grimmsnarl that is so reliant on the one supporter card it plays per turn really benefits them most from that. So I think all of those have really good standing into one another and just generally can come up with game plans from a defensive position as well as be on the front foot as well. We know that things like a turn 2 Dragapult or Gardevoir can completely run away with the game, save for Grimmsnarl as well, to be honest. So the fact that they can be aggressive now, especially with Gardevoir moving more towards Bravery Charm and getting aggressive with Scream Tail, aggressive with Drifloon sometimes, you can really get into that mix, into all sorts of archetypes, which I think is really important. The other main through line storyline from Mega Evolution is that the Solrock and Lunatone package are incredible, and that sort of combination of the Sun and Moon have allowed the stars to align, if you will, for Golden Go and Ceruledge. These archetypes are really good beat stick archetypes that really welcome this package of cards, giving both these archetypes really good early game single prize attacking threats. You get to fuel your discard pile if you're Golden Go or Ceruledge with these fighting energy that also help you see many more cards. So it makes Ceruledge much more reliable of a pick. Golden Go could already draw a boatload of cards, but now even has a surplus whilst filtering energy at the same time. So these archetypes really are, for the aggressive picks, for my money, the best archetypes in the meta. Then there's this contingent of just what I'm going to call dark stuff. At the very least, they're dark types, so they're good into Gardevoir, which gives them a reason to see some play. You're at least getting some decent matchups there. That's going to be the End Zoroark archetype. That's going to be the Charizard EX. Yeah, I know. Even though they're counter picks rather than just trying to target one archetype. But the Charizard also very well established, getting some tricky new inclusions as well. Jet Energy, Klefki coming into the combination, Maximum Belt being a much more popular pick in recent times with Charizard. So a bit of a facelift for that archetype. Also, of course, love seeing that Lily's Determination supporter card coming into the equation. And then also on that dark stuff is the new kid on the block, the Absol Toolbox, which allows you to take advantage of these Mega Evolution Pokemon. Precious Trolleys out a bunch of Pokemon all in one go. Uses Technical Machine Turbo Energize, which we haven't really seen since Iron Hands, the sort of quad hands deck from the World Championships. So taking advantage of some unorthodox cards to power up these Pokemon, which are really a nuisance to deal with. Having 280 base hit points, then Lively Stadium, then Bravery Charm. Of course it's going to be good with Monkey Dory. Of course it's going to be good with Penny to pick them up and buy a free turn. So that's my sort of dark bucket that I think Gardevoir has to be afraid of, but just generally are quite well-rounded archetypes. And then finally there's the sort of Noctowl Area Zero buckets that I have of Terrabox, Flareon, and Raging Bolts. These are all archetypes that either via type coverage or just having reasonable damage output in their own right are able to reach good numbers onto the most popular decks in the game, whether it's grass type coverage, also having things like Pikachu for generic damage output, or Raging Bolt, as we know, a favorite for a long time, which can reach really high numbers. And it is really reliant on that Noctowl engine, so reliable with Fan Rotom getting you into games. You just have a very good strategy, and the core selling point of these three is that they're the only decks in the game that prefer to go first. All the other decks in the game, players piloting those archetypes will choose to go second. So when you're effectively winning the coin flip by being allowed to go first by your opponent all the time is a really good boast for the Terrabox, the Flareon, and the Raging Bolt. Also having their innovations, Flareon getting a recent second place finish is a really outstanding performance for that archetype. So I do feel like that's one to really watch. That's my core rundown of the TCG in Mega Evolution, where Solrock Lunatone's a big deal, Lily's Determination is huge, and there's still the target on Gardevoir's back because, since the World Championships and even before then, it's been a staple in the metagame and probably the only deck that I would expect to be above 15% if you combine the Gardevoir straight build as well as the Jellicent EX build. So that's still the real one to watch, I would say, of this bunch.
I definitely agree. So many angles to approach this metagame from in the Pokemon TCG, and if we even throw things over to Pokemon Unite, Zoinks had already talked about sometimes there's players and teams that want to play more aggressive, ones that want to play more defensive, and this is also in the face of some new patch notes that have dropped. Break it down for us, Zoinks.
Yeah, I mean, since we haven't had a tournament since the World Championships, we've actually had a lot of releases being added into the game, so a ton of new Pokemon are available for play, but, 'tis the season. Mega Evolution Pokemon are getting a bit of that spotlight. We already had Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y added into the game, but the new kids on the block, if you will, Mega Charizard X and Mega Lucario, are truly here in powerful fashion. I do not know how many times they will make it into games, seeing as they will be very likely ban targets. By the way, in Pokemon Unite, we will now have 3 bans per side in tournament play, which is one more than additional, so we might be getting to see some really interesting strategies with that banning phase, so that'll be really fun to talk about. But I think the Mega Pokemon, they are just so powerful that we will likely see them in the banning phase, but they did receive some recent nerfs in the patch that happened, well, as of us recording this, just a day ago. So we might see teams experiment a little bit. One other Pokemon I wanted to mention, though, that I think we're going to see a ton of at LAIC is another Pokemon that received some buffs in that patch, and that's Mimikyu. Mimikyu is a pretty devastating Pokemon due to the fact that it doesn't need to evolve. It can kind of hang out in that path phase or in the central area. You can kind of dedicate however much experience you feel like you need to it. So it's very flexible, and it's a very difficult Pokemon to knock out. It takes that VGC identity a little bit and plays with it extremely well in Unite. And then, with the rest of my time here, I'd really like to talk about one more VGC player to watch. I think we could fit one more there.
You know what? Sarah had him. You can go.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, a ton of time there. You summed that up so nicely. I definitely want to deep dive a little bit later on into what the patch is going to do and mix things up with our teams and players here. But with this extra ban being added, Zoinks, the player pool or the Pokemon pool for so many of the players already has to be so big in Unite. Which teams do you think are going to be able to best absorb this new ban?
Ooh, I pointed him out a couple of times. I really like TTV in this place. I really do think they were just so historically strong. As soon as draft got added into the game, it was really fun to see what they would do with the experimentation. I think we might see a duplicate of that again.
So they're known for their deep Pokemon pool?
Yeah, sometimes to a fault, but maybe in this setting of this tournament, we could see some really cool... Another North American team that I think will really excel in this format is a new team called Project Mbappe, which Kyrios is now playing on, but they got some really flexible players, namely Celeste, who can kind of flex between that central area and top path. They're known to play a really mean Serena, which right now is kind of that niche on the outside pick, but is extremely strong in the right hand. So I think if you're looking for a team that's going to bring you some exciting matches, but also some really interesting picks, Project Mbappe, definitely a meta breaker kind of team to watch.
I always love it when a game can introduce some new rules that shake up the format, force players and their teams, of course, to think a little bit deeper outside of the box, find some undiscovered picks to find success, and Pokemon Go has that in spades now with their new restricted format. Break it down for us, Will. How is team building going to look like for LAIC?
Absolutely. Adam, I can't wait to go back into the chat and see how many people guess some of the top Pokemon that are going to be in the format, because we have so many bans and there's this white list of Pokemon that are banned and only a few typings are allowed. So there's a lot to kind of get through. And when you look at this, you can either say, oh my goodness, there's so many openings, so much opportunity, I'm going to get really creative. Or you can look at it and say, I'm totally overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first preface this by saying you can be creative. This LAIC meta is brand new. You can play Vespiquen, you can play Frostlass, you can even play Rufflet like I did in a practice tournament. It didn't go so well, but I'm sure there are better trainers than me that can play it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down what I've been seeing in practice. And you're going to have a team of 6 on your roster for LAIC as a Pokemon Go competitor. Let's start with the core 4. Rachel, Adam, I was thinking about trying to make you guess which Pokemon it would be, but we'd be here all day, so I'm just going to tell you. The standout Pokemon, the number one pick in practice. Oh, actually, valid guess. But the number one Pokemon we've seen in practice tournaments is actually Oranguru. Believe it or not.
I never would have guessed Oranguru.
Never. We'd be here all night. But Oranguru is so impressive because it is like this neutral anchor for your team. This is number 1 of the core 4, right? It's got Fast Attack Confusion, which most players are running. It's got Brutal Swing, which it gets to really quickly, and it's got Trailblaze to buff up its Fast Attack. Oranguru is incredible. It's a neutral damage sponge. And when you look at that Pokemon, you say, okay, well, it's a Psychic type, so I can beat it with Ghost. No. Remember, it's a sub-normal type as well. So in order to beat Oranguru, you have to look for Dark type and Bug type coverage, which is really kind of weird to find. Number 2 in our core 4 is a Dragon Breath user. Keyword user, because you're not going to really.
I know
need
this one. Yeah, the Gyarados.
Yeah. Gyarados is back, everybody. You're not gonna. You don't actually need a Goodra, a Dragonair, or an Altaria, but you can opt for those. But I think the number 1 Pokemon in that slot, as you guys already pointed out, is going to be the Gyarados. That's 2, right? Number 3, an Ice-type Pokemon. And this is typically an Ice type with a sub-Water typing, something like a Dugong, a Celio, a Walrein. You need that Pokemon to kind of check some of these other dragons and to land some hard-hitting Ground-type damage, whether it's Walrein's Earthquake or Dugong's Drill Run. And the 4th part of the core 4, I have fire typing in my notes, but really, there's just one. It's got to be Turtonator. Turtonator with 5-turn Incinerate. It also has Brutal Swing in its kit, as well as Flash Cannon and Dragon Claw. It's so fast, it's so spammy, and that fire damage is super, super impressive. Guys, we've got 2 slots left, right? That's only 4. What we've seen in practice tournaments is that people will opt for a Ghost type in their 5th slot, whether it's maybe a Renorigas or a Dusclops or a Dusknoir. And in the 6th slot, they typically opt for a steel type, something like a Bronzong or a Metang. And there's a whole lot of nuance there, but your ghost types offer you a lot of coverage. You can go Dust Noir for hard-hitting damage, or Runerigus for a Rock Tomb setup, or you can go Steel type with Bronzong, because that's one of the only ways to reliably stop a Oranguru, and you're going to need to stop a Oranguru in this tournament.
Oh, there's so much variety in what you see in competitive Pokemon Go. It's one of my favorite events to watch for that reason alone, and it sounds like, despite the fact that this is a restricted meta, things have opened up even more in what you're expecting to see.
No, exactly right. I feel a lot of trainers are trying to counter some of these picks. Some of the Pokemon on my radar are the Ghost types. You're going to see Frostlass with Hex, Avalanche, and Shadow Ball. When the shields go down, Frostlass goes to town. You do not want to be shields down against that Pokemon. Claydol is also another really powerful Pokemon with Mud Slap. It can handle the Turtonator. It can throw Rock Tombs and debuff the opponent, and it can Ice Beam the Dragons. There's so much utility in that Pokemon as well. So I did see a practice tournament where our world champion, Beezle Boy, actually ended up winning and sweeping, and he did not have 2 of the core 4 on his team. So there's a lot still to be explored, you guys.
And I know that you have dug up a lot of this information just based on your own practice and what you've seen in the metagame, but also spoke with some players as well to see what their experience has been so far. So we're going to jump into that interview right now, folks.
Oh yeah, wait, set it up for us.
Welcome everyone to this incredible interview. I have 2 insanely talented guests, and I cannot wait to get to learn more about them. Hard Jeff, let's start with you.
Hi everyone, I'm Hard Jeff. I'm from Brazil, and my favorite Pokemon is Umbreon.
Nice. Marto?
What's up? My name is Marto Galde. I'm from Argentina, and my favorite Pokemon is Ho.
Awesome, awesome. I've got some questions for both of you, and then some individual questions, one each for each of you. You're both in the conversation for the best trainer, not just in LATAM, but also the entire world. How does it feel to represent LATAM on the international and world stage? And in order to decide who answers first, let's play rock, paper, scissors, okay?
Okay.
Pedra, papel, tesoura. Oh, you won.
Yeah. All right.
I would.
All right.
I feel very proud to represent the region. I feel like LATAM is a very proud region, and we get very excited when somebody from our region does a good position, right? At a very important tournament, does a very good deep run. You can feel the support in the crowd, in the chat, Twitch chat, right? So for me, it's just I feel very proud. I feel very happy. I like to represent the region. Yeah, I feel like proud is just the best word to describe it.
Awesome. Hard Jeff?
Yeah, it feels amazing. I think proud is a good word as well. And I think sometimes it's hard to understand how it is to represent a country, a whole new area like Latin. Recently I have in LAIC last year when after I lost in top 12. I was down and everything, and a friend asked me, "Oh, how was?" And I said, "Oh, I lost," and he said, "Oh, we are out." And when he said "we are out," I felt like, oh, I was representing him. I was representing a lot of people. So I think those little things help me to understand how it is to represent a lot of people. Latin and Brazil. So I think right now I can understand better, and I feel the support when we are playing, and I say a lot that on the tournament. So yeah, it's amazing, and I couldn't be prouder.
I always say that LAIC has the best crowd out of all the ICs. Everyone gets so hyped. And I also feel that at Worlds, when a trainer from LATAM is competing on stage, all of the trainers from LATAM in the crowd are cheering for you. So I think it's an incredible environment. I think you both make really, really good points. Hard Jeff, I'm curious, what is the #1 key to your consistency over these seasons? Because you always are achieving at such a high level.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say the #1, but I think it's the mental, like being very focused, very confident, and have everything mentally on your game. So I try to work on that. I try to work on everything, but I think right now, like when I have a lot of good players all around the world, I think something that can help you get some advantage against your opponent. So I think that's the #1 right now for me.
Awesome. Marto, same question to you.
Okay, he stole my answer.
Okay.
No, yeah, I agree. Like, you have to be very mentally strong. Like, when I go into a tournament, I don't usually see who I play against. Like, if it's a good play, a known player or an unknown player, I just play the same against everyone. Try to not underestimate them. Generally, I'm a lot relaxed in the tournaments, which is not always the best case because sometimes you're just too relaxed and you need to be like a bit focused, right? But I feel like if you're strong mentally, you can achieve everything.
Awesome. Next question. I'm curious what each of you think is the best meta of all time in the Championship Series. So obviously we had Trevenant, Walrein, and Shadow Nidoqueen early on in 2022. We've had the Metacham era. We had the knocked out Trevenant Lantern era, and we're in the current era as well. From any of those, or maybe even one that I didn't mention, Marto, why don't you go first this time? What's your favorite meta you've ever competed in?
Okay, it's gonna be a bit biased, but I really like the Gator meta that we had recently, the Jump Love Gator. I really felt things like I did pretty well at that one, right? But I felt like I had the edge over a lot of people in that meta. I felt like I understood it well, and I really liked it. If I had to put a close second, I would say Walrein Trevenant meta. I think a lot of people are very fond of that meta and would like to have it back. It didn't feel that RPS, so yeah, I feel like those two would be my picks.
Hard Jeff, I feel like Marto only picked that meta because it had Jump Love.
Yeah.
I'm curious what yours is.
Yeah, I actually think like recently all the metas are fine since like Trevenant and Noctowl era, but I really like the current meta, the meta we just had like Worlds and AIC, and right now I think it's very open, very wide. That's things that I like. I like when you have so many options. You can pick like a very different Pokemon and it can work out. Like we had King Gangavit so recently, yeah. So like you can use a very different Pokemon and it can work out, and people can also not use it, and it's fine. You can use the top meta, you can use very different Pokemons, and you are still fine. I think that's the best thing you can have, and I think it's going to be good for everyone. So I think right now is one of my favorite metas for sure.
Hard Jeff, I have to follow up that question with another one. You are a trainer that can build across any kind of meta. You seem to use a different Pokemon in every single tournament. It's really, really remarkable. What's your number one advice for team building if someone wants to get into the Championship Series?
I think my number one advice would be know yourself, because I think there is a lot of different types of team building. You can use very meta. You can be very spicy. You can have like just one different Pokemon. I think you have to understand yourself, what you can use better than others, what you can put the best of it. So understand how styles of Pokemon you can use better. So I think that's the best advice that I can give.
Marto, I feel like you're going to say just start with Jump Bluff and build around it. But what is your real advice, though?
I would say have an Iomero in your life. It just makes it easy, you know. Now, to be honest, I'm really bad at team building. Generally, when I make my own teams, I don't do well. For example, my first 2 LAIC, I made my own teams, and they were just so bad. But yeah, as Jeff said, I would say like pick a Pokemon that you feel comfortable with, because if you feel comfortable, I think that's gonna help a lot mentally and also in the game, right? If you can build around the Pokemon that you feel comfortable, that's really good. But otherwise, I am not a good team builder, so that's all I can say.
So Iomero can be an answer. Huh? Iomero can be an answer.
Yeah, Iomero. Just have Iomero. Just contact Iomero, give him a call and he'll do it for you.
I think that's so fascinating because I agree. I think that playing a team you're not comfortable with can feel like putting on the wrong size shoe. Maybe you don't like Incinerate users. Maybe you don't like a one-turn fast attacks. It really depends on the meta and what you're comfortable with. And I agree. I think sometimes your friends can be a great inspiration to what you want to play. My next question, I want to start with you, Hard Jeff. Who do you think is the best trainer in the world right now?
The best player in the world is me. LNDS Hard Jeff. I think that's the best player in the world. I'll give a honorable mention to Boy. I think you have two times top 4 in Worlds. It's something. But I know myself. I know everything that I put on the game. I know everything that I overcome. So I know I can be the best. I know I'm the best. So I'm pretty confident in me.
Okay. Hey, confidence. You said it before. You've said it twice. I think if anyone can take something away from the interview, it's that you have to be confident going in. Win the mental battle and then win the battle on the stage. Marto, who do you think is the best trainer in the world right now?
Okay, for me, the best trainer in the world, it's Boy. Just because he beat Rajev 3 times in a row. No, I'm just kidding.
That's the only reason.
I mean,
come on.
My answer is pretty obvious, right? Like, he has been on a tier. Like, he played 2 Worlds. He did top 4 and first. And after he won Worlds, he went to a grassroots tournament and then just won it. And now I think we will see him at Las Vegas Regional, if I'm not incorrect. So it's gonna be interesting how he does there. But from what I have seen him and like the amount of time he puts in the practice, like I feel like right now he's the best. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? He's a world champion, but no, that's my take.
There was a moment at Worlds when Beelzebub led his Galarian Moltres into a Tinkaton, and he actually ended up winning that game. And at that moment, I knew something special was about to happen. So I think you both make really, really good points. And Hard Jeff, you were 3rd at Worlds, so you know it's very, very close. Marto, I want to come back to you. This is a personal question to you. So if people only watch your streams, they probably are very surprised to learn that you're a highly competitive player. On stream, you're known for playing spicy Pokemon like Shiinotic, Quaquaval, Regigigas, and even Shiny Kabuto, to name a few. So my question to you is, what is your philosophy behind streaming?
For me, it's just like making people laugh, just having a good time. I feel very accomplished when I make people laugh, and that's all I want. So when I win with a Pokemon that's not really good, just people just laugh and have a good time, and that's my main purpose when I stream.
So you stream for fun, and then you lock in when it comes to tournament play, right?
Sometimes.
and thanks for your stream. Marto streams are amazing.
Appreciate it, man.
Very, very funny. Hard Jeff, a personal question for you. You're known for giving inspirational speeches on stage, especially after your big wins. You have this ability to amaze the crowd with your plays and then win their hearts with your words. So my question is, you inspire so many people, but what actually inspires you?
I think the people inspired me. I think it's something similar than I said earlier. Talk to them, be with them. I know when I win, we win. So we share achievements, we share everything. So I have a lot of friends. So my friends, my family, everything that supporting me, everything that cheering for me, they were inspire me for keep playing and playing more and more. So I'm very grateful for them.
Even though your answers are so different, I notice a commonality. It's like a feedback loop. You take feedback from the community and you give back to the community, whether it's making them laugh or making them cry in a good way, right? They feel inspired. You're both attending the 2026 Latin America International Championships this month. And my question to you is, if you pair in Sao Paulo, what will you say to each other? I need you to put on your most dramatic expressions and just imagine that you're sitting across the table from the trainer you see on camera. Hard Jeff, why don't you go first? What would you say to Marto Galde?
Marto, I will not add you as a friend.
No. Feels personal.
Yeah.
Feels personal. Great delivery. I think it's
that's
clear
constant.
Yeah. It's just sort of a joke, a meme, because when we was Santiago, right? We went to face each other.
Yeah, I think so.
And I said to Marto, I'm gonna send battle, and he said, we are not friends anymore. I deleted you. And I was, and now he wanna add me, and I said, not anymore.
Things like he doesn't open gifts.
Yeah,
he doesn't open gifts. So
yeah.
I generally delete people that don't open gifts, but he was so mad that I couldn't delete him after that.
He took it personally, okay?
But he still doesn't open gifts.
Yeah. Nothing changed.
Ooh, okay. All right, let's get serious again. Marto, you sit across from Hard Jeff. In the 3 victories he's had against you, when you meet, he wins all those tournaments. So if he beats you this time, it looks like he might win again. What do you say to him to intimidate Hard Jeff?
I would say, good luck next LAIC. Yo, it's my time, right? He wins, I win. He wins, I win. He wins.
Fair.
It's my time.
Fair.
It's good. It's so good. I can envision both of those scenarios happening. I can see it. Those are very, very authentic answers. Well, guys, it's been an incredible interview. It's such an honor and a privilege to talk with both of you. Again, some of the best and most accomplished trainers currently in the championship series. I just wanted to ask if you have any final thoughts, anyone you'd like to thank, or anything you'd like to say that you feel like we didn't mention in the interview. Hard Jeff, we can begin with you one more time.
Yeah, I just want to thank for this moment here. It was amazing talk to you. All these pre-shows are always amazing. I always love to watch. And I want to make like an invitation for everyone that is watching that is thinking about going to LAIC, going to a regional or any IC or Worlds. Please go. There's amazing events that are amazing. All the people there are amazing. So go to these tournaments. You can play. You can just watch. You can be in the venue, and you can talk to everyone, talk to friends, go talk to me. It would be amazing to have you all there.
Awesome. Marto?
Damn, I cannot top that. That's amazing. No, I really had a good time. I learned a lot from Hard Jeff. I appreciate that. And I would just like to thank my Twitch community, and I would like to thank for being here. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. Best of luck at LAIC 2026. And if you do pair against each other, I hope everyone in chat has their popcorn ready. Thank you so much, and we'll head back over to the lounge.
Will, killer shirt, killer interview. How did you decide to go after those two players to talk to?
Great question, Rachel. I was trying to set up the interview. I messaged our producer. I said, I want to interview a trainer that's won 4 regional championships, is an LAIC champion, and plays 3rd place at Worlds. And Will said, wait, who's that? I said, Marto Galde. And LNDS Hard Jeff. Right? If Sierra gets 15 VGC players to watch, I get a double interview. Okay? Let's be real.
It's not weird that it happened. It's just weird that it happened twice, right?
I mean, these players,
nickels.
You were definitely at the nexus point between 2 different timelines there during the interview.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely created an alternate timeline somewhere there, branched off it at some point. But they're such incredible trainers and very inspiring to watch. And when you think of LATAM, obviously because of where LAIC is, you think of Brazil. But there are so many other talented trainers from the region, including Marto and many others.
Yeah, that's very well said. There's so many players to watch out for, so many things to consider, and now is the moment you've been waiting for, folks. We've got our deep dives. These are some key moments, some key things that our panelists have gathered up and they want to talk about, and I'm going to set Joe up first, and he also took a moment from one of our best players and is going to break it down crazy style for the folks at home. So, Joe, what do you got cooked up for us for this segment?
Well, who better to learn off of than Tord Reklev, the game's most decorated player? I'm going to take us back to Frankfurt Top 8, where he's facing off against Maze Brenningmeier. Just to set the scene here, Maze is playing a Terra Toolbox. He's just taken his 3rd and 4th prize cards, and Tord has this big decision to make here. He's already holding onto Iono in his hand. Typically, when your opponent goes down 2 prize cards and you have a Pheasantipity EX in play, that's a big warning light that you've got to play that Iono to disrupt the opponent. But instead, Tord chooses to use Flip the Script first and finds the Hilda supporter in his hand. And that completely changes his board from the offset, because of his deck building, he's choosing to play 4 Rare Candy in this build, very unorthodox for Dragapult Dusknoir, which has gone basically to regular evolution as of late. But now that he picks up this Hilda from this Flip the Script, he's able to have a really big springboard turn. He hits the Hilda from the Flip the Script, now he can Rare Candy and find his A-Spec, the Neo Upper Energy. So finally, Tord is making a comeback. He still has 6 prize cards to take. Maze bearing down just those 2 prizes. Tord really has to accelerate the game. So rather than trying to play as defensive as possible and have this really slow grind, and maybe accept just a Dracloak that turn, he gambles, it pays off, suddenly he can get into this Dragapult. Not only that though, he now has a second decision in his hand. He's already holding onto that Iono, so if that can stick for next turn, that's going to see him through. But luckily, he has the Holucha and Countercatcher combination in his hand. And a lot of the time here, you would see players use Holucha, flying entry onto the Pheasantipity, then use Countercatcher, bring up the Pheasantipity to deny Maze from getting those 3 card draws, because that's going to help him work towards the end of the game. But in this moment, Tord realizes that because Maze hasn't yet used any Hoot Hoot or Noctowl, his sort of key engine pieces, and because Tord was still at 4 prize cards, he wasn't under threat from anything like Blood Moon Ursaluna to close the game out easily. If Maze was going to win this turn, he would have to knock out the Dragapult EX, which would have required a ton of basic Pokemon, Lily's Clefairy EX, and a Crispin. That's a lot to ask for, and also retreat the Pheasantipity EX out of the way as well. So Tord really nicely identified that even giving Maze cards this turn, he probably wouldn't lose the game, and that meant that as we come over to Maze's turn here, he really didn't have much going on. He has this one search card, he can develop something here, but not really enough. So Tord took the hedge to say, I probably can't lose even if my opponent sits on like this 10 or so card hand. How bad could it really be? And it means that he gets a hold on to an absolute monster next turn. He's holding Hawlucha, Countercatcher, and Iono. Bear that in mind, that Tord had the option to play those 2 cards as well as playing Iono at the start of the turn. So now he will be very happy to disrupt Maze, knowing that Hoot Hoot typically has 70 hit points only. In this case, the 80 hit point Hoot Hoot, the tech card that Maze has in his deck list that's slightly more difficult to knock out, comes onto the board from that Ultra Ball. But Maze really can't do much else. He can't get a meaningful knockout in any way here. So what he's going to try and do is use his only supporter card, the Professor Turo, to pick up his... Well, he thinks about it again, but he eventually will be doing this, to pick up his Pheasantipity EX, so that it's out of the line of fire for Tord to take easy prize cards on, but also by sending up a single prize Pokemon that will definitely be knocked out by a Phantom Dive, he's trying to buy himself the chance to flip the script again next turn. So bear in mind, Mace has gone very aggressive this game. He was able to get a Wellspring Mask Ogerpon double knockout into double knockouts in his opening 2 turns. So Tord really still has quite a thick deck. Mace has made a good hedge here, saying that it's hard for Tord to have that combination. But thanks to Tord's patience, you can see now that it's really going to be paying off, because now we know his turn is already ideal. He will be able to Hawlucha and knock out this Pheasantipity, no questions asked, and then it's just about what else could he do to make the board position difficult for Maze, because that Hoot Hoot's still certainly a threat. The Hawlucha can't deal with it, so he may be forced into using Curse Blast. And there's a downside here. If you use Curse Blast, Maze then only requires a single prize card. That makes you very, very, very vulnerable to one of these little Duskull getting knocked out for Maze's final prize of the game. So even though Tord will be able to play Iono, knock out this Pheasantipity, leave Maze with ideally 1 or 2 cards at the most, there's still some danger here, because the Fan Rotom can still be a threat as an attacking presence if that's not knocked out, or the Hoot Hoot can evolve into Noctowl, suddenly Jewel Seeker comes onto the board. So we're really getting close here, and Tord can see with his decision-making, plays an Ultra Ball just to thin a Latias EX. He then initiates this Hawlucha Countercatcher combo that he was so patient on. That's the thing that I really want to drive home here. He then evolves up into a Dusclops, and now he has this decision, and I think this is the most unintuitive of the lot. He decides to target down, I believe here, the Fan Rotom as the threat, rather than the Hoot Hoot. I think many people watching at home, and myself including watching this game live, say that Hoot Hoot is the key engine Pokemon for Maze. He's very likely to find a Noctowl, and things can really spiral out of control with Jewel Seeker coming online after we see the Iono to 1 and the Phantom Dive taking Tord down. Just 1 prize card remaining. He's really saying, Maze, can you win on this turn? And with the 2 cards, he was able to get Nespal. So this is the worst case scenario for Tord. A Nespal comes down, also a playable card in the hand. So Maze gets the shot at 3 cards here, but he does need a combination. He needs to move this Noctowl out the way. He needs to find likely a Blood Moon Ursaluna Boss's Orders combination at this stage to move the Dragapult out the way. Also, he plays Iron Bundle in his list. Otherwise, he can also still find a way towards Clefairy. That would require a few more bench Pokemon and a Crispin, probably. But with Jewel Seeker, it's all possible. So it comes down to this big 3-card dig. They actually had a Judge Cut as well, which I think adds to the drama, which is excellent. But then Maze reveals these top 3 cards. He's not able to find a Terra plus Noctowl combination. And it really just shows that Tord, with his back against the wall, came up with not just a patient play, but then an unintuitive play. And in those moments in games, you are very likely to falter. You know, your opponent is so far ahead in prizes, you know that you're still 3 turns away from winning at that stage. So you have to play so carefully, but it really just highlights how strong of a player Tord is, but also how educational these games can be to watch back. Like, I still nerd out about this game all the time. It happened a couple of months ago now, but it really just makes me think of the levels that there are to the TCG and how complicated it can be, and ultimately how our top players find their way out of such awkward positions.
And just to dive even deeper on your deep dive, when it comes to the Pokemon TCG, players, we focus very heavily on playing the good deck, playing it optimally, trying to cut off your opponent's options as much as possible. But Tor not only kind of brought an unexpected deck with the rare candies and Dragapult, took that line that was very in the moment. It wasn't a super macro focused play, was bold enough to take that risk and say, I don't think you can get the proper combination of cards to finish this off, and played the patient way, not going for just disruption, which, as you mentioned, right, Joe, would be the most mathematically safe play. Said, well, I would rather preserve my winning good cards in hand than mitigate my opponent's chance at winning.
Well, and
very often you're programmed with 2 cards left that you're going to play that Iono to put the opponent down to options, but acknowledging what was open for Maze, what combination he required without Noctowl on that turn, he still felt safe enough to close out the game on the next one. So that was really, really creative play from not many resources. He was really stifled for draw that game.
Well, taking a look at it with a professional casting breakdown of it, it seems like one of those situations that only Tord could get himself out of here. But is there an element of this that we can kind of extrapolate, or a lesson for players in general? Is it his patience? Is it his awareness of what cards are available to both players? What is it here that we would most try to emulate in his play as a competitive player?
I mean, that's sort of what I love so much about the clip. It comes into play with all these aspects. His deck building, first of all, that wouldn't be an option if he wasn't playing Rare Candy, which many lists aren't. Then it comes into his patience and his decision-making and acknowledgement of what is in his opponent's reach. So it's taking so many factors into this one small decision-making that has allowed him to creep out of an otherwise really, really awkward spot.
Yeah, we're learning from the pro players here, and we're also hearing from the pro players. Sierra put together another kind of insane feat on her way to the Las Vegas Regionals, where she's reporting from now. Got some pro players together to give us an amalgamation of opinions on the current metagame. Break that down for us, Sierra.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was so impressive as Joe was breaking down this play, all this thought process. I just asked the players to do it for me. So I talked to 26 different players that are attending LAIC and got their thoughts about a bunch of different topics heading into the event. I'll talk fast here because there is a lot of information. But first up on my list, I asked them what they thought is the strongest Pokemon in Regulation 8, which I kind of want you guys to try and take a guess at this one too, because
it's not Incineroar?
Like
is it Incineroar?
It's almost Incineroar. That's where catch you up.
Torracat?
So 6...
What else is almost Incineroar for?
Evilite,
Incineroar was
Torracat.
popular. Incineroar was popular. We had 6 trainers saying that, including Marco Silva, just because it's such a strong piece on so many different teams. But the most popular Pokemon, or the most strongest Pokemon, according to our players, is Blood Moon Ursaluna. Even quoting, can be used both offensively and defensively, which makes it extremely versatile and very difficult to face. One of the most powerhouse Pokemon in the format right now on so many different teams. That's a strong one. Second up, though, followed up with what is their favorite regulation Pokemon to use. This one I thought was really interesting. So despite Blood Moon Ursaluna being what was thought to be the strongest with this group of players, only one person voted for that as their favorite to use. 4 individuals said that Hisuian Ursaluna, the counterpart, was their favorite, but it was 8 individuals that said Golden Go was their favorite Pokemon within this format to be using.
I mean, I think that, especially when Golden Go first kind of came onto the scene, the Good as Gold, the Make It Rain, the Terrestrialization, it was just such a monstrosity. I remember when it first dropped, so players are just enjoying how versatile it is and how powerful.
Also, canonically super friendly dude in the anime.
Yeah, just vibes. Just vibes. Of course, every player has their least favorite team to be playing. So I asked what was their least favorite archetype to face, which there was a lot of different answers here. Most notably, though, Trick Room. That was on the list. Adam. Trick Room was another one. The most, though, with 7 votes, was any variation of Sun, whether it was Marco Sun, his LA winning team, something that like Joseph Ugarte has been playing with the Typhlosion, or even something like a Lilligant Torkoal. All of that was the least favorite for players to go up against, with Justin Tang saying Sleep Powder is the scariest move ever. Very normal on some teams, so they don't want any of that.
What an honor for Marco Silva.
And Sleep Powder's scary not only for the opponent, but for the player that's using it as well.
It is 75%. It's a fun move. It is a fun move, everybody. Next up, had to ask what so many different Regulation H winning teams, what their favorite Regulation H team is that has won a regional or last international, right? And this one was all over the place. There was a love for a lot of these teams. I think every single team that's won at some point did get a vote. But it was Marco's winning LAIC team, that Charizard, that Torkoal, that Jumpluff, that did get 4 votes, with actually his Lil team with the Rabombi getting 3. So more so the majority kind of leaning towards anything that Marco's builds that is good.
Whatever the chef is cooking, I'll
right?
order.
I'm in that camp.
We'll take that. And quick up, had to ask what the stronger weather was in Regulation H. Starting off, it was a lot of rain out in the format, and it was kind of something that predominantly took over pretty quickly the first time Regulation H came around. And I kind of thought asking this that it was just going to be majority people saying rain, and that I would just omit this question from the survey entirely. But it was actually 16 of the 26 trainers that voted for Sun, saying it was the strongest archetype, with a lot saying they previously thought it was Rain, but is now gone to Sun. With note, Sleep Powder Smile Face from Kian Campbell. Thank you very much for that. But again, that is just the strongest variation. 7 for Rain, 3 for Snow, noting that it was just Alola Ninetales, and that's the only reason it's scary. And nobody voted for Sand. Nobody believes in Sand out here anymore. 2 more questions. I'm trying to roll through these fast, I promise. I've had to, of course, ask who our trainers thought was going to win LAIC. And I don't think it is any surprise that the winning amount of votes was from Marco Silva. Every one of those individuals quoting that they believed in the three-peat, including someone said their grandma says good things always come in 3s. So they... yeah. But also honorable shout-outs to Victor Medina as well, who did get finals in LAIC last year and is just such a phenomenal player, has gotten second place a lot, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, quoting that, yeah, he's just such a strong player out there. It's his time, right? And then Ashton Cox as well, when you're talking about people that could go for a 3rd LAIC title. Didn't even have time to talk about him earlier, but he has won 2 LAIC international titles himself.
Sierra finding a way to sneak in another VG player.
Put it on the board, son.
You guys weren't supposed to call me out on this. You weren't supposed to call me out. My bad. Last but not least, though, I think one of the most important questions, everybody sees the plushies on the stage, out in the stations, ask, do you bring a plushie with you to these events? 11 said no. No whimsy out here. We hate the joy. 7 said a Pokemon on their team they will bring. And then 8, a Pokemon not on their team. Ashton Cox said always has to have a Pokemon on his team, on his side. Quoting, always, my team has to be by my side or it doesn't feel right. And on the votes for no, I used to, but I lost a plushie I liked, so never again. I'm so sorry, Marcus Dion. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That is tragic. Thank you to our players. I love to get their thoughts. There was a lot of really fun insights to this, and I'm excited to see them all compete.
And yeah, shout out to you once again for being able to coordinate that at the last minute and compile that data. A lot of good, fun opinions there, and everybody putting their eggs in the Chef Silva basket. And moving over to Pokemon Go, I know that Will also had a VGC player that he wanted to call out on your behalf as well.
I don't see that anywhere in the script, Adam. I think we'll skip past that part. But no, I want to talk about in particular how elite Pokemon Go trainers prepare, because I mean, to a lot of people who just watch the streams casually, it just kind of looks like you're tapping your screen trying to make something happen, and sometimes there are big plays and the shoutcasters get really loud.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I was told by that's okay. We love you still. But I was told by our producer that I was ordered to nerd out on this, so we're going to go full nerd, everybody. I could have said typical things, right? Like everyone needs to scrim, or everyone needs to try core breakers and spicy Pokemon just to see how they fit into the meta, or that everybody just needs to embrace the sandbox. Know what to expect, have counters, have options, have a plan. But we're going to go a little bit deeper than that. I'm going to start off with recognizing turn alignment in Pokemon Go, because Pokemon Go, believe it or not, is a turn-based game. The difference is that every turn is a half of a second. And when you have basically every team that I've seen in practice tournaments running Oranguru, it's got a 4-turn confusion. And 4 turns is a weird turn cycle. It's not something that we're used to. The only competitive Pokemon that we see with 4-turn fast attacks right now is Charjabug. And occasionally Volt Switch Charjabug comes to play, but not very often. So you're going to see a lot of instances where players will swap in their Oranguru at the end of somebody else's fast attack and sneak through a full confusion's worth of damage. And when you have that kind of Pokemon that builds to the Brutal Swing so quickly, can threaten with Trailblaze, it's going to be devastating if you let Oranguru get ahead of you. So timing your 4-turn confusions and your own fast attacks is going to be super, super important. The second thing is that players need to tweak their Pokemon and pick specific Pokemon to power up that are going to win charge attack priority ties in the mirror. So if you've got 2 Gyarados, because there's no speed stat in Pokemon Go, it all gets translated into attack. That's why you have a lot of electric type Pokemon, fire type Pokemon that with super high attack stats. And if you're in a mirror match and Adam and Rachel are battling and they both have their Gyaradoses on the stage and you both reach the Aqua Tail, you both have just 10 HP remaining, and whoever wins this charge attack priority wins the entire LAIC, and it goes to Rachel because she's got slightly higher attack on her Gyarados. That's just it. That's how champions are made. So when you look at a Pokemon as a species, you're going to have like this kind of wiggle room in terms of attack range that you can operate with, and a lot of trainers are going to be picking some unconventional versions of these Pokemon, like Gyarados, like Goodra, like Charizard even, that you normally would not play in competitive formats. The final thing I want to say is that in Pokemon Go, there are break points and bulk points. This also comes down to which Pokemon you choose to power up. Some have a higher defense or higher HP, and it means that the opponent's fast attacks and charge attacks do a little less or a little more damage. But where this comes into play in a big way is with our Dragon Breath users. For example, if you have a Gyarados that's dealing 4 Dragon Breath damage every turn to a Goodra, that's the difference between losing in the one shield scenario with 57 HP left on the Goodra or 37 HP left on the Goodra. And if it has 37 HP left as a prime farm down target, bring in the Oranguru, sweep away with some confusions, and roll into the next matchup. It's going to be super important that these trainers know their break and bulk points and can actually pilot a team that might not win the matchups you expect, but wins the matchups you need them to win in critical situations.
There is so much detail in Pokemon Go. I think it's one of the best ones to listen to the casters. Like, make sure you're tuning into the commentary. Turn that up because there's so much nuance to competitive Pokemon Go. Thank you so much for breaking that down for us there. And definitely some fresh eyes I'll be bringing to the competition next weekend. Now, we've got another deep dive to do, and this is into a brand new map. Zoinks, where are we going?
Yeah, I honestly, for this deep dive, I'm just going to be kind of setting up the stage. We have an interview with a player who actually breaks down a lot of these elements extremely well. But I just wanted to mention, that's a huge change. We already talked about the draft changes a little bit earlier on in one of our segments for Unite this year. But another one is Rayquaza is gone and Groudon is in. A brand new final boss Pokemon that will spawn in when there's 2 minutes left of the match. And with it brings kind of a host of changes, but the easiest way to break it down is whatever team knocks out the Groudon, any Pokemon who is not knocked out at that moment gets a buff, which will increase your damage and your scoring speed. Notably, no shield this time around. That will be absent, which is very important when trying to score. You can still be interrupted, although your scoring speed is increased. However, the biggest change is when a Pokemon with a Groudon buff is knocked out, that buff moves to the Pokemon that KO'd it. So we are exchanging these buffs back and forth. In fact, it makes some really interesting endgame decisions where if your team isn't perfectly set up for a fight around that Groudon, oftentimes it's actually better to let the opposing team get the Groudon and defend on your goal zones and hope to steal a couple of those buffs in a team fight where maybe you have the advantage thanks to the healing given from your goal zone. So that's just one of the plays. There's a bunch. I got them all drawn up here in my secret playbook, which obviously I can't show you. But like I said, we have an interview. I should correct myself. We have an interview with an incredible top player in the game who breaks a lot of these down, so I'd love to throw it to our interview with Ender.
Let's do it.
All right, I am so excited to be able to talk to, Pokemon Unite historic legend at this point, but living legend, luckily for all of us. We got Ender here to talk all things about this year's competitive Pokemon Unite. I'm a history buff, so I want to talk about some old school stuff with the competitive Pokemon Unite as well. But Ender, thank you so much for joining me here before LAIC. How you been?
Thanks, Zoix. I've been doing really well. Finally getting back into the groove of competing and practicing again after the Worlds in 2025. But I love Pokemon UNITE. I'm loving being here, and I'm super excited for LAIC.
Awesome. Yeah, I cannot wait. It's going to be your first time attending LAIC this year, right?
That's right. I've done the other ICs now a few times, NAIC, UIC, been to a couple Worlds, but my first time LAIC, first time in Brazil. So I'm super excited to meet the fans over there too.
Okay, awesome. I can't wait. I know you got a couple of teammates that have been there before. Maybe they can give you some good recommendations. But as far as I'm concerned, on my one visit, the food's incredible. All the people in the community are incredible. So you're going to have a great time. I guarantee it. But first question I wanted to ask you, Inder, is about something, well, very exciting, at least to me, and I think to a lot of big fans, especially of North American Pokemon Unite, is one, you're back playing in North America, and two, the fact that the team you're playing under is TTV at LAIC. So how good does it feel to be reuniting with your old teammate Zugrug, bringing Toon back over from the Nouns Esports crew onto the TTV team?
It's great. Like it's pretty much been my dream ever since our team ended up splitting up to bring it back together. Yeah. And I've always had a philosophy for competing in Pokemon Unite that I want to compete with my friends and at least compete with people that I really enjoy playing with, that are people that I like. I never wanted to be stuck in a team situation where, you know, there wasn't that outside of game team chemistry where people kind of were resentful or whatever it might be. And Zugrug, been one of my friends, you know, for over 10 years now. I've known him for a very, very long time. So I'm super excited. I think our unspoken kind of chemistry on the macro gameplay is still there. A lot of times, you know, Zugrug will notice I'm on one side of the map and he'll be like, okay, I got to go cover where Inder isn't. And I know I still have that with him. So it didn't take any time readjusting playing with him.
Okay.
And I spent the last year playing with Toon. I moved all the way to London to play on Nouns Esports specifically to play with Toon. So him and I have gotten the chance to get readjusted as well, and I'm loving every bit of it.
Awesome. Well, the reunion sounds great, but let's talk a little bit about the two new additions. So on the roster right now, you got Otter, who was playing on Luminosity Gaming last year, and you got Zealot also joining this crew. So talk to me a little bit about how these new pieces are fitting into, again, a historic team at this point.
Well, I've had the pleasure to play with Otter in Season 2 under TTV as well, where we had a lot of success. This past year, Otter played with Luminosity. He did phenomenal. You know, they were NA's favorites, one of the best teams in the world as well. And when I was assembling this team, when I approached Toon and Zugrug, you know, it was us three that initially started the team. My one condition to make the team work was like, I want to play with Otter. You know, he's been a good friend that I made in Pokemon Unite. I think he's a great guy. He's really, really solid and talented at the game. And I don't think this team would have been possible if not for Otter. We all of us wanted to play with him. So we were excited when he also reciprocated and wanted to play with us there.
Yeah.
And then the final slot was fitting in a top lane Pokemon Master. So, you know, I'm on the support, Zug's on defender, Toon's got that central area, Otter on the attacker, you know, traditional roles for the most of us. And one thing TTV's always struggled with is finding someone to take that top lane in that top path. And Zealot was one that came to mind. He was a little bit unsure at first because rightfully so, he hadn't played with any of us ever. And he's a little bit younger than the rest of us. He wasn't sure how he would fit in. But we told him that we want to take a chance on you and we want you to take a chance on us. We really believe in his mechanical skill and that, you know, we'd be able to shape him up to be one of the best top laners in the whole world. So it's been good. I've been really excited playing with him. He brings like a different kind of energy, really like very fresh, very youthful. He's very funny. I really enjoy him. And for those of you that, you know, maybe have been around Pokemon Unite, if you're looking for like a personality match, I say it almost every day. He reminds me of like a combination of Lutano and Gatlu. Like, you know, and both players I've played with for a very long time.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're definitely filling up quite a big roster of teammates that you've had at this point, but I'm super excited about these 5. That sounds great work marketing both Otter and Zealot. I think this is going to be a really fun year. Obviously, this tournament's going to be exciting. But there's a lot to prepare for the first tournament of the year. You know, we don't have the luxury of the other Pokemon titles with a couple of months before LAIC to kind of get the tournaments warmed up. This is our kickstart of the season with 3 Asia Champions League spots on the line, by the way. But there's a lot of a lot to prepare for, like I said, and a lot of changes going into this year. So there's 3 kind of big ones I wanted to talk about, and we can spend as little or as much time as you want on each of them. But the first one I wanted to talk about, we got some changes to the map, especially in terms of wild Pokemon. I want to talk a little bit about the early game and how that's changing in your mind. Regidrago being added to the map, of course, the Regieleki or the trio of the original Regis kind of switching spots on the map. There's a few changes that affect the early game macro. How impactful do you think that's going to be to like competitive strategies?
Yeah, I think we've already noticed that the game is a lot more volatile now in terms of the early game. Like you said, Regidrago spawning at the 8-minute mark. I think the really big change as well is those Regi buffs, the Regi Steel, Regi Ice, the Regi Ice, and the Regieleki being swapped around sometimes. You know, sometimes it's back in that top path, sometimes it's not. And what that ends up doing is it removes this kind of scripted macro that we've been playing for the last 3 to 4 years, where it's like, okay, 7-minute mark, get ready to rotate to the bottom path. Maybe the top path Pokemon, they stay 1 versus 1 in the top side of the map. Everyone else plays for the stat and the global experience buff. And you kind of just rinse and repeat that for a couple minutes. Rayquaza spawns, you do your best. And it was a lot more methodical, and there was definitely merit to strategies around that as well. But now that there's this element of randomness applied, you would think that maybe there's some skill removed, but I would argue that it's even more skillful now. Understanding at that 7-minute mark, actually 7:30, you become alerted which side is going to have Regieleki. Oftentimes, we don't have a designated person making that call out like, hey, it's Regieleki in this side of the map, because there's so much team fighting happening at that time, whether we're contesting the 720 Altaria that are coming up or that Regidrago we might still be fighting over. So someone has to pan their camera, they have to check. We have to immediately develop a game plan based on the amount of points that have been scored on the relative sides of the map, how the early game's gone, the relative drafts on both sides. So it makes the game extremely complex, which, I think in a way definitely favors us. We have a lot of experience. And in some ways, it can be kind of difficult for us as well, because we have such great minds on the team, right? Toon and Otter, right? Toon, loves to lab things out. Otter has a lot of experience shot calling, and if we have opposing ideas, there isn't a lot of time to choose whose idea we're going to go forward with. If I have an idea and 2 of my teammates have a different idea, we have to be very snappy in that decision making. So that's been a challenge, I would say. But overall, I think it's making the game super competitive and a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah, that does sound like a challenge. I mean, a bit of an embarrassment of riches, I guess, when you have so many incredibly talented and smart players on your team, but it does present some challenges. I'm sure it does as well in some of the late game fights. Now that Groudon is here, kind of changing the late game entirely, giving a different buff now, of course. If anybody has not seen the Groudon map in action, make sure to tune into LAIC, but if you haven't, now applying a buff that increases your damage and your scoring speed, but it can be taken away if an opposing Pokemon knocks you out and they gain the buff. So, Ender, how has this big change affected endgame team fights?
Yeah, I think a lot of the positioning remains relatively similar. The map itself is only slightly different in terms of those bushes being removed or changed around. But one of the big changes, like you mentioned, is you can lose that Groudon buff, or from the opposing side, you can take it. Yeah. So now it means that if you notice the enemy team trying to sneak Groudon, you have to make a very quick decision like, hey, what if we don't even try to steal it? What if we just let them have it and then take the buffs from underneath them? And making that decision is not easy. Everyone has to be on the same page. Everyone has to be locked into that. And for a lot of the people that have been playing solo queue, you'll notice that you might take Groudon, you're winning, and then one person on your team could give up that Groudon buff. And if the wrong Pokemon on the other team gets it, they get that 50% damage buff. They can KO your entire team, and you could lose by taking the final objective. which is like a backwards kind of idea in a game, especially in a game like Pokemon Unite. And it can happen in competitive games if you're not careful, right? Like if I'm playing a Pokemon like Blissey, I give that Bliss assistance to an ally. All the damage they take comes on to me. A lot of times I might end up going down, and usually I'm okay with that, but not anymore, because if I go down and I give up that Groudon buff, we're in trouble.
Okay, well, a lot of snappy game time decisions are going to need to be made. Obviously, these are going to reward extremely skillful teams, and like everything we just mentioned, a lot of this is information that you kind of have to take in on the fly. You can prepare for as many times as you want in practice, but a lot of important decisions to make during the moment. All right, well, speaking of recent changes and things like that, the most recent balance patch, as of recording, that we have had is a lot of the, I would say, traditional style supports or healing based supports have gotten some pretty solid buffs. And all of last year, a very common strategy was utility based supports or damage focused supports were very, very popular, specifically by really successful teams. Do you think that trend will stay the same, or with these buffs and changes, are we going to see a little bit more back in, well, your wheelhouse in the healing and focus supports?
Yeah, I definitely think the game is shifting back towards the earlier metagames where you do want to have a healer that can provide some sustain to your team. One of the big changes that happened, it kind of snuck in right after Worlds, was a buff to Rescue Hood, which is an item I've been enjoying playing a lot on Pokemon like Eldegoss and even Blissey, some of the ones you might not have even initially expected to. But yeah, I think we're definitely seeing a bit of a shift from those utility supports, but that's what makes draft beautiful. And that, with the 3 bans that you talked about, if some of those healer supports get removed in draft, or some of the key counters to the utility supports are removed, and you can late pick a really strong support in a strong position, they can make a big difference in the game.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for giving us a great breakdown, Ender, of some of the game changes, of course, some Pokemon to look out for, and then even a little bit of intel on your team. I'm so excited to watch you all compete at LAIC. So, Ender, best of luck at the first tournament of the season.
Thanks.
A lot of big changes going on in Pokemon Unite, but folks, welcome back. Lock in. We've got some predictions coming up. This is really exciting because we're all going to give our answers, and we're going to keep track of who has the most correct predictions over the course of the entire season. And lock in, viewers, because you get to vote in chat, and we're going to track your predictions as well. To kick things off, we've got Sierra with a question from VG for the rest of us. What do you got for us?
I mean, I've talked about a couple of players to watch and, the respective regions and stuff. So my prediction question is, which major region is going to win LAIC? Is it going to be NA, a world champion, etc.? Is it going to be EU, who dominated the circuit, especially at the IC level last season, also Marco Silva? Is it going to be LATAM, searching for their first LASC title, but so many stacked players? Or is it going to be another region? Because I only have limited Twitch poll spots, guys. So that includes Australia, who's been amazing, Japan, any other major region. Those are your 4 options, guys.
All right, Zoe, start us off. Let's go clockwise around.
All right, sounds good. I'm going with EU.
Yeah, I'm also a Ribbon believer, so I'll take EU as well.
Wow, all right. Go ahead, Sierra.
Oh, which way is clockwise?
You know what? Let's come back. Sarah go last so we don't copy her homework.
Oh, okay. My mistake there. So I was looking at the record. Apparently, the last 8 ICs, we've had 4 EU champions and 4 NA champions. I think this is the first time in 3 years that a LATAM trainer wins it all at LAIC.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with Will. I think it's LATAM's time. I love to see them play down there.
Oh my god. I swear I wrote this down ahead of time, but I'm voting other. I think maybe a Japanese player is going to show up and maybe blow us all out of the water.
Ooh, someone paid attention during Sierra's section.
Right? I'm so proud. I'm so happy. I mean, I believe in the story. I believe in the three-peat, so I have to say EU for Marco.
Okay, and
Twitch
chat also agrees, right, that EU is going to win. That is the Twitch chat prediction. Okay, moving on to Unite, however. Zoinks, what is your question for us for predictions?
Well, so far I'm happy that I've aligned with whatever Twitch chat's saying. So Twitch chat, let's see what you think on this one. We've had a few Pokemon released into the game since the World Championships. It's our first tournament since that one. What Pokemon's going to have the highest win rate at LAIC? Your options are going to be Latios, Palmont, Empoleon, or Mega Charizard, or Mega Lucario. I can kick us off. I think a lot of us are going to be aligned on this one. I'm putting Mega Charizard in that slot.
Well, I was screeching in the arena when I saw little Piplup show up, so I'm going to be going with my head and heart. I'll be picking Empoleon, hoping that it's dodging the bans from players post-patch, and I think that's a really cool toolkit, so I'm voting for him.
I like that.
Right. I heard Mega Charizard's good, and it looks cool, so got my vote.
Yeah, I'm with Zoink Sierra and Twitch chat. I think Mega Charizard's the one.
You know what? I got friends. They're raising the next generation. These little kids, they love Palmont. They love Palmy. So let's make a next-gen choice. I'm going with Palmont.
And
that's a sick choice.
I mean, my pick, maybe it's got to dodge the bans as well, Mega Lucario. I might win on a technicality. Charizard's just going to get banned, and then Lucario gets all the win rate.
Okay.
So, Lynx, what's the answer?
Well, I said Mega Charizard to kick us off. If I'm allowed to change my answer, I won't. I'm sticking on Mega Charizard. I'm doubling down. The thing is, too, in a grassroots tournament recently, it had a 90% ban rate, but in the few games that made it through, it had an 85% win rate. So it's looking pretty great.
And that's going to be a tricky thing, right? Because we can have a Pokemon that's very clearly strong, but if it gets banned too much, it's not going to accumulate win rate. Or
there you go.
What counters Mega Lucario? I want to ask you. I might change my vote.
Oh, some things early on in the game can kind of shut down Mega Lucario. If you're looking for a different option, though, I think Latios is looking pretty good, actually. Kind of surprised none of us picked it up. I think you might want to throw your hat in the Latios ring.
All right, just to hedge your bets, and probably because I know Twitch chat's about to lock in their choice, I'm going to go for Latios.
Oh.
Nice.
Well, Twitch chat has gone with Empoleon, but I think we suffer from too many great options here, perhaps.
Yay!
All right, let's move on to Go. Will, you got a hot take for us? A question? A prediction?
Yeah, absolutely. So most of the other titles at LAIC will be Swiss format, but Pokemon Go is still double elimination. And one of the best facets of double elimination is the bracket reset. So my question for all of you out there is, will Pokemon Go have a bracket reset in the grand finals at LAIC 2026? Can I throw out some stats? I got a couple stats, you guys.
We got stats.
All right, we got time. So, for the first 9 international championships that Pokemon Go held, only one of those went to a bracket reset. That was 2023 NAIC, right? However, the past 3 have all gone to bracket reset last season. Marto Galde fought back in the bracket reset at LAIC. Then we had Pataman reverse sweeping Zweilous at EYC. And then at NAIC, we had Axon doing the same. So there might be a trend towards towards a bracket elimination, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I say yes to bracket reset. Do it for the plot, fam.
I say no to the bracket reset. Not only is the bracket not going to be reset, it's going to be just a complete clean sweep Giga Stomp.
Wow. All right. Wow. Stick in the mud vote from there. I'm going to go with it absolutely will be a bracket reset. For the crowd at LAIC, it needs to happen. I'm sorry, Fate is going to be in charge of this one. Yes.
I'm also going for yes. I'd love to see it. I think at that point it becomes less about who the better trainer is and more about the mind game and the thinking about the previous games and how they've played out. So I really want to see that element of our top players on stage.
I would think it's fun. I always think it's interesting. I don't know. I just think this time no bracket reset. Someone's just going to win dominantly and just take it.
Yeah, I see Zoinks kind of crashing out up there about no bracket reset, but I'm also in that boat. I don't think there's going to be one this time. I think we're going to have a clean-cut champion, like Skarzik said, Giga Stomp 3-0 on stage.
But that goes contrary to what Twitch chat has locked in. I mean, the people want to see the bracket reset. They want to see as much high-level Pokemon Go as possible, and we can't blame them. And moving on, of course, we got TCG, a prediction prompt from Joe. What are we seeing here?
Well, I've been trying to make the case that it's a really wide field in the Mega Evolution format. So I've got 4 Stage 2 Pokemon to pick from. We have Gardevoir, Dragapult, Charizard, and Grimmsnarl, all really strong picks right now. I think there's no wrong choice for you guys, so you can all breathe easy that no matter what you announce here, it's a pretty good choice.
All right, 25% chance. What are we thinking? I'll kick it off. I actually thought about this one. I'm going with Dragapult. It always falls flat on the finish line because it's so good into everything except Gardevoir. And I think the meta might hold Gardevoir back one more good time for your boy.
Interesting. I'm gonna throw in another element. I voted Charizard in another category, but I swear this one is independently thought of. I think Charizard right now actually looks pretty okay into this field. I'm excited. That is a crazy broken ability on that stage 2 Pokemon. So yeah, I think Charizard EX gonna have a pretty good showing.
Sierra, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Gardevoir. I mean, it's got to break through again eventually, right? Like, but it can't hold it back always. So I think this is time.
So I studied this one really hard, and by study I mean I looked at all the cards really closely, and basically Dragapult passes all the vibe checks. Beautiful card, beautiful art. I think Dragapult's gonna be the winner.
Wow. Will, you studied for each of these like a test. I'm so proud of you.
And then he went off vibes, by the way. I want that to be clear. He studied and then went off vibes.
I got my degree in vibe studies, okay?
Vibes.
It's a legitimate field of study.
Well, if I were going off vibes, I'd take Dragapult here, but I'm going off history. I'm going off, precedent. I'm going Gardevoir again.
All great choices. I guess I'll take the one that's not been picked then. I'll go Grimmsnarl, because like I said, I think there's no wrong choice.
Okay, so before we hear Joe's answer, I'm getting word that Grimmsnarl and Dragapult actually tied for Twitch chat's choice. So I don't know if we let them have both of those takes as a treat, or do you want to break that tie for them, Joe?
Oh, I mean, I thought I was going to go against the grain. I thought I was going to just take Grim anyway. I guess I can keep it tied, and I'll just go Grimmsnarl myself. Okay. I'll let them have the 50-50 coin flip.
I like it. I like that even Twitch chat couldn't decide. It just shows you talked about a lot of decks being viable at this upcoming competition, and it seems to carry over into the supposition as well. But you've all brought such great information for us and great interviews. I was preempting the throw here. But cue it up for us, Joe. Who did you talk to? What's going on?
Well, we've got off vibes, but I hope at least that Miloslav Posledny is doing more than that with his research to the Mega Evolution format. So let's hear from our previous winner. So I'm now joined with our previous Latin America International Champion in the Masters Division, Miloslav Posledny. And Miloslav, it's been a pretty good year for you, coming off an international championship. I just wanted to really think about those who are attending the tournament, what it sort of has meant for you in this last year, and what's different now that you've become a champion.
I don't think that much changed, to be fair. Like, I was already perceived as like one of the better players, so I didn't feel that it made as much of a difference. The one thing that surprised me the most was like few minutes after the win, I got swarmed by like Brazilians that wanted me to sign their card. So that was like probably the biggest surprise for me regarding the win. But besides that, I think it's still the same thing for me. Yeah.
Par for the course for you, I suppose. Sort of still talking about that victory. Last year, you decided on pretty much the general consensus. Regidrago V-Star was the best deck in the game at the time. Does that sort of speak to your philosophy in terms of your deck choice? Or was it just so happened to be one of the stronger decks that you click with for that event specifically?
Yeah, I was pretty much locked into playing Regidrago for sure. The one interesting thing is that me and Daniel always, we're like always running the version with no Radiant Charizard, which is like the I don't want to say the big debate, because everyone was like thinking it's correct to play it, right? And we kind of went against the current with that thing, but it worked out for us pretty well in LAIC. So I still stand by your choices, and I think it was the right decision. And yeah, Regidrago was definitely the best deck you could have, like a player could have played for those formats. And yeah, I think we did a pretty good job.
Well, you already alluded to something I was going to mention, that you had quite a bold choice. No Radiant Charizard, obviously a clearly good card. Nor the Pheasantipity EX, also like a commonly played card. Yeah. I think you also played a couple of Superior Energy Retrievals, no Super Rod. Like, definitely some big choices within that deck building. What did that sort of testing process look like to come to your very specific list that both you and Daniel, also achieving that top 4 sort of protege testing partner of yours? How did you come up with that approach?
Well, it would probably take a bit more over 10 minutes if but to make it short, when I'm building a deck, I always want my tech choices, because I see Radiant Charizard as a tech choice to beat Raging Bolt, and Fest to a certain extent is the same thing. I want the tech cards to matter, and I felt like adding in the Gudra and the
Haxorus.
Yeah, the Haxorus and the Temple. I don't know what the first word of the Temple is. A Temple of Sinnoh, yeah.
Sinnoh,
so,
yeah.
I and Daniel as well, we felt like it's just better to have those decks in the deck over Radiant Charizard. And it meant we would have like a slightly worse Bolt matchup, but all the other matchups felt like super winnable. So as long as our opponent wasn't flipping over a Raging Bolt, I felt super comfortable playing like any other matchup. So that was the main reason. The other reason for not including the Fest was that since we had like extra space in the deck, thanks to like omitting the Rod and the Charizard and the Fest, we could afford to play an extra Ogre Pawn and a Vessel as well, I think, because we played 4, the general number was 3. And thanks to that, it basically makes your Vessel draw 2 card, which, like, drawing 2 is really good, right? Because you always play with 2 Ogre Pawn on your board since there's no Fest, so it felt like generally we could, like, outdo the Fest with the double Ogre Pawn draw, and yeah, we didn't really feel like we need the Fest in most of the other matchups besides the aggressive ones. So yeah, it felt like the perfect 60, like the perfect Regidrago build if you're willing to take the slightly unfavored matchup into Raging Bolt. And I think for me, for myself, I think I lost like 1 Regidrago mirror out of all the tournament games I played. So yeah,
that's
like the deck was feeling great. Like unless there was a bulk facing you, like there was nothing that could stop you basically. So yeah, I think that's about it.
That's fantastic to hear. And I think what's so cool about that story is that you just sort of trusted your own testing, and the logic is clearly there within your deck building as well. Ever since the rotation of Regidrago, it feels like you've sort of jumped between a couple of decks. Is there something that you feel super comfortable with, or is it a sign of the format that you're having to pivot from tournament to tournament now in this new format?
So I felt super comfortable with the straight Dragapult deck that I played until like after Badu happened, and it wasn't like a rotation format yet. And since rotation, I haven't found anything that I like too much yet. I mean, I've played a bit of Gardevoir and Goldengo mainly for tournaments, and then I played some Dragapult as well, but only in like locals. And I think I played for NIC as well. So yeah, I pivoted between these 3 decks, which probably are like the top 3, but still haven't found anything I like too much. I'm also looking into some other choices for LAIC. So yeah, I wish Regidrago was still here, but unfortunately he's not. So I need to find something else.
You definitely had some incredible performances, not just at the LAIC with that deck, so I can see why also you pivoted to Dragapult with that similar sort of playstyle in a different way. But now sort of pivoting towards the Mega Evolution format, you said you're not yet set on one deck that you're completely happy with, but we are getting to a really developed stage in the metagame where every region's had at least 1 regional championships already, so every player's already had a chance to test out Mega Evolution. How does that sort of change your process going into the tournament? And is there one deck that you're really trying to lock in on, like you did with Regidrago?
So I was kind of locked on Gardevoir for the previous like European Regionals week for Gdańsk and Lille, and yeah, I didn't do too well. So I mean, if LAIC was tomorrow, I would still probably play Gardevoir, but I'm trying to find something new. So I think that's about it.
All right, keeping things under wraps. I completely understand that. But in terms of the sort of, do you see there's more of like a big 3, a big 5? What are the sort of key threats that you definitely have to think about heading into this tournament?
That's a really good question. I mean, the obvious top 2 is like Gardevoir and Dragapult, and I feel like right now with how spread out the format is, I would probably consider Goldengo being like close to the top, like the deck that's closest to top 3 the most. I would say is like the Goldengo, and definitely the Absol Kangaskhan box as well. Like that one's kind of new, but it feels like it's a pretty good deck as well. So yeah, I would say Gardevoir, Dragapult are the obvious like top tier choices, and then Absol and Goldengo are like the 2 most closest decks.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because you're making my segues really easy. With the Absol archetype, the new Mega Evolution mechanic, of course, also joins us in the format. Just talk a little bit on what the 3 prize mechanic brings to the game, how, if it makes you change deck building altogether, or how have they sort of really taken hold in this new format, and what's the impact of these Mega Pokemon?
So I don't think it changes deck building like that much, but because like you build around a card being like actually good, right? But I think the 3 prize card mechanic in itself is super interesting, because if there's only 1 and 2 prizes in the game, it's like you're either taking 1 or 2 prizes based on like the moves you're making in the game. But if you are hitting into Omega, which generally like you're not one to take Omega, so if you're hitting into it, you're basically taking 1.5 prizes. which is like 1 price and a half, right? So it's like an interesting mechanic that good players can abuse sometimes. And yeah, I think the megas are like interesting, as long as it's not like my mega one choose your mega, and then my mega one choose like as long as it's like 2 hits, I think it's healthy. But if we ever cross to the one shot mega territory, then it becomes a bit awkward. So. Yeah.
I was going to say, Mega Evolutions are the new mechanic, but 3 prizes are definitely not, so I can see why you're being a little hesitant about how things can play out.
But I like them so far. Like, there's not too many one-shots with the Megas right now. I mean, there's the Mega Guardian card, but you can still use it to, like, swing board states, so...
Yeah, and that requires 2 stage 2s. You've got to give it up at some point, right? So they've got to work pretty hard for it.
That card is going to be a great tank as well, right? For the device.
Yeah, that's definitely a good call out. Keeping an eye on the future format as well, by the looks of things. But focusing on LAIC, is your prep any different now that you're defending your title? Or is it going to be more of the same, really, your same process that you would put into the tournament? Is it coming in with extra pressure, or are you excited to get out there?
Yeah, this is gonna be like a super blunt answer. There's like no additional pressure and nothing else changes for me. It's just another tournament, so...
That's great to hear. I mean, I feel like that's the right approach. No need to add any more pressure on yourself, and you're clearly like very comfortable with your previous finishes even before your victory. So one of the extra pleasures of heading out to the LAIC is, of course, experiencing the culture and everything else. Milo, is there anything that you particularly are looking forward to out at LAIC, enjoying the travel, the food? What is it that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so I'm not much of like a culture guy. Like, I don't go to the monuments to buy them, but I love the food. And the amazing thing about Brazil is there's a lot of all you can eat like type of restaurants where you just get amazing food for a decent price. So that's where I'm at. So yeah, that's definitely one of the cool parts about Brazil. And yeah, we also need more tournaments in Japan, by the way, just saying.
2 destinations with great food, no doubt.
For sure.
You seem like you're really excited and revved up for this tournament. Is there anything you want to mention about the LAIC, or something that a little story you have from this season that you're going to be taking with you into the LAIC?
I mean, Daniel missed his registration for LAIC, like we already know that, right? And I think he's like trying to register right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's gonna make it, because if he's not gonna make it, he's still going. But like my prep is going to be way worse. So I'm crossing my fingers that he's going to make it. I guess that's like an interesting one, right?
The that's extra like final wave
in like the nearest hour of this interview. So
wow, incredible!
So he makes it.
Well, I can't wait to see you and hopefully Daniel as well at those top tables. Thanks so much for taking a moment to chat with me, and really looking forward to seeing you in action out at the LAIC.
Thank you. Thanks for the interview as well. It was fun.
Miloslav is in for a treat. It looks like no matter what happens, he's going to be enjoying himself down in Brazil. But Joe, any final thoughts on the interview? Any final thoughts for the people at home while we close out?
Well, I just love how humble he is as a champion, and he's just taking it tournament by tournament, round by round. And I think that's always a great mentality to have, not give yourself any added pressure. You don't need that. You just want to be enjoying the game and going through those motions and being fully in the zone. And I think that's how he's become a champion and will continue to have great results.
Any final thoughts, Sierra?
I mean, LAIC is just going to be absolutely electric. So, only fitting, I get to do a lightning round of VGC players to watch. Justin Tang, Joji Kaida, Kieran Singh, Gabriel Gotti, Luca Cherry, Paulo Ruiz, Louis Fonvia, Alex Gomez, Nicholas Fan, Oliver Esklund. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Somebody call Officer Jenny. She's out of control. Will, any final thoughts?
Yeah, of course. I just want to say the LAIC crowd is, in my opinion, the best crowd out of any of the ICs. I expect everyone to show up and have a lot of fun. From a viewer perspective, this is going to be a very different tournament than anything you've seen before. So I encourage people to kind of look under the initial layers and kind of recognize the nuance and the skill that's going to be on display, because it's going to be really mind-blowing when you understand what these players are really trying to accomplish and what kind of crazy plays they pull off. So I can't wait for LAIC. It's one of my favorite events every single year.
And Unite's going to really feed off of that energy as well. Any final thoughts as well from you, Zoinks?
Glad you mentioned feed. I can't wait for the food in LAIC. It is a highlight every single time, so I can't wait. The games are going to be great too.
Well, if you can't wait to watch some competitive Pokemon action, Will and Sierra are in Las Vegas now, covering the regional over the course of this weekend. So make sure you tune in and watch that to get a little taste of what's going on next week at the International Championship.
And yeah, Las Vegas Regional's going on, and then we're right back at it with LAIC. Let me read these times off just for anybody who is only listening and maybe can't see us right now. 4 a.m. Pacific time, 7 a.m. Eastern time, and noon Coordinated Universal time.
Nailed it.
UTC, folks.
We didn't Google that.
And if you want to see any of this information written down, laid out beautifully in front of you, we've got championships.pokemon.com. That's championships with an S.pokemon.com. Make sure you check out all the relevant info there. Can't wait to see you. Thank you so much for joining us here, folks in the audience, and our beautiful panelists that have tuned in to break down everything you need to know for this next monumental step in the Pokemon competitive scene. And we will see you next time, but not after we say hello in Sao Paulo. Until then.
Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.